Welcome back to Second and Short. It is April 14th, 2023. The Rays are still undefeated. Looks like they're going to keep it that way. The Commanders looks like they're going to be sold to Josh Harris. UCL had some great matches this week. We've actually got a race for the title in the Prem and plenty of other things going on. Luke, how you doing?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I'm loving everything going on in sports right now. I'm very entertained.
Me too. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. MLB is starting to, kind of pick up, we're all kind of figuring out who the good teams are, who the bad teams are, kind of 10 games in, 11 games in. It's life is good, man. Unless
Yeah,
you're a Chelsea fan, which I am.
it's true. Yeah, today we're gonna have a little bit of MLB recap. We'll talk about what's going on this weekend in the MLB. I'm gonna be debuting my weekly team of the week for the MLB. We'll hit you with the NFL news, our top 10 safeties from this past season to finally round out that series that we've been doing since I think a week after the Super Bowl. We've been grinding with that one. We're gonna hit the UCL, the results from this week, and our second leg predictions to set up the semifinals. We're gonna talk a little bit more Premier League. Only 8 weeks left in the season, somewhere around there, and then we'll round it out with Do You Remember? Luke, let's go ahead and get into this MLB recap.
Let's do it.
All right, I got to start it off with the Orioles because they're killing it with the dugout antics. It's one of my favorite things to see in baseball.
Oh yeah.
They debuted the Homer hose the other day, aka the Dong Bong, but Kyle Gibson stressed that that is not what it's called. It's called the Homer hose. And they hit the sprinkler celebration. So fantastic. Some guy hit a double. Did like the little like sprinkler thing where like hand behind the head, do the sprinkler, and then the guys in the dugout are like sitting at the fence and they all like are spitting water out of their mouths. Like the Orioles are on some other shit with these celebrations right now.
I saw that too, and you and I kind of both predicted it. That's a team that we hoped would. Of course, they're in my division, but last season they were really entertaining towards the end of the year, and that seems to have kind of carried over. And you can tell that they're a team on the rise. I think they're sitting at like 5-5 right now. Not too bad for Orioles standards in like previous seasons. So it's good to see them having some fun.
Yeah, I love this team. They've got a bunch of players that are just playing super well this year. I think for them to be successful, they're probably going to need to make some pitching moves. But in general, I'm very happy with what I'm seeing from them.
Yeah, me too. And I'm gonna follow it up with a game I think that happened. Let me see. Yeah, Monday, April 10th. I want to get your opinion on this, Grayson. The Phillies and Marlins game. Phillies get 20 hits, score 15 runs, and beat the Marlins 3-9. And it was Alcantara that started that game. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that wow. Lighten up
Yeah,
Sandy Alcantara.
it was on Monday. Yep, he is now 1-1 with an ERA of 5.79.
Oof. It's a rough start. What, he's got 3 starts now?
I yeah, believe so.
That's that's interesting because like we saw like I think what it was his first appearance. It was I think it was his first appearance wasn't that good, and then the second appearance was fantastic, and then now comes out with another stinker. Maybe he's reverted back to the mean.
Exactly. And I'm going to go ahead and take it over again because I want to shit on my own team for a second because on Monday they really pissed me off. It's always got to be on a fucking Monday, too. Yankees opened up a series with the Guardians, which, really good series, by the way. I think this one could be kind of like a playoff preview kind of game because the Guardians look really good and the Yankees look really good. You mean to tell me that you're going to give Yankees fans 2 runs off of Shane Bieber in the first fucking inning and then not score the rest of the game and lose 3-2?
Props to
Off
Shane
of
Bieber
4
though.
hits. Props to Shane Bieber, though.
He
But
looked crazy good after that first inning. He
he did.
he ended up going 7, though he only struck out 4. He only threw 99 pitches. Like that's fantastic recovery from Shane Bieber.
He was able to rip through a I mean, yeah, I hate to say it, but Yankees offense once again, looks pretty inconsistent because the next game, Yankees blew them out 11-2, and then I think the third game was a 4-3 Yankee win. So the Yankees ended up getting the series, but I don't know. The Yankees they worry me. They worry me. They're not like the Braves where you kind of I feel like know what you're getting almost every single time. But hey, how about the Braves? This Red series it's had a lot of
Oh
close games.
God,
A
yeah.
lot of close games.
Tell me about it. It's been fucking stressful.
It has. But anyway, I've talked a lot. I just had to talk about that Yankees game. So you got anything else for MLB?
Yeah, I've got plenty. Shohei Otani. First of all, an ump tried to bust him for foreign substances under his armpit. The ump like walked up, talked to him, and he was like, "Show me it." And that's just where he puts his pitch comm device. And so he kept putting his hand there, and the ump was like, "That's suspicious," and he was just calling his pitches.
It's hilarious.
But while I'm talking about Otani, this guy is just ridiculous. All right, here's his stats as a hitter. This was as of a couple of nights ago. He's batting 300, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs. Opponents facing Shohei Otani as the pitcher, batting 100, 0 home runs, 1 earned run.
Wow.
This guy's ridiculous. And his last start was his 10th consecutive start, allowing 2 or fewer runs, which is a new Angels record.
Was that the game against the Nationals that he shut him out in?
I
They had a
believe
shutout?
so.
Yeah, that was the Angels beat the Nationals that game 2-0, and the Nationals had one hit.
Yeah, it's
He's a freak.
he
I
is.
love watching like hardcore baseball fans and even like baseball players talk about Shohei because like it really puts it into perspective that like he is just not normal. Like that is the kind of talent that we're talking about. He's not just a good baseball player. This is like unheard of.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable what he's been able to do and continue to do.
yeah. And as we're speaking, the Rays did just get the win over the Red Sox, making it 13 in a row and tying, I believe, the 1982 Braves and 1987 Brewers at 13 wins in a row. The best start to an MLB season. Um, I got a feeling they're going for 14 tomorrow.
Is it against the Red Sox again?
No, I believe they start a new series. Can't quite remember who they're playing. Oh, they're playing the Blue Jays. So that was actually a series I do
Ooh.
want to talk about because this is going to be a good one this weekend.
Yeah, I don't have the Rays played or no, they just got done playing the Red Sox.
Yep.
Yeah, never mind. I was gonna ask if the Rays have even played a division team yet, but that would have been stupid.
Well, lucky for the Rays, Drew Rasmussen's going to be on the mound for them, who in his 2 starts has 2 wins and a 0 ERA. And they're facing Jose Barrios, who in his starts is 0-2 with an 11.17 ERA. Jose Barrios probably one of the most volatile pitchers in the entire MLB because one day he could come out, he'll pitch like 8 innings and get like 15 strikeouts, and another day he'll come out and he'll pitch zero point 0.1 innings and give up 9 runs.
But the slurve is so much fun in the show, Grayson.
It is. He's fantastic in the show. And if that's what you play baseball for, props to you. If you're Drew Rasmussen, who nobody uses in MLB The Show, props to you as well for just being a good baseball player.
Yeah, that's gonna be an awesome series, though.
Yeah, and speaking of the Rays, this stats from Tuesday night, but the Rays on Tuesday had hit 29 home runs this season, and they only allowed 20 runs total prior. So that's the largest differential between home runs hit and runs allowed by any team after any day in MLB history.
My gosh.
Now, as of yesterday, it was 30-27. Um, I don't know how many home runs they hit today. I know they hit at least one because I saw Brandon Lau's solo shot. Um, Let me double check that. I'll update that stat for you. Luke, go ahead and say anything else that you've got.
Right now we have a game going on. Top of the ninth, the Orioles are tied with the Athletics 7-7 right now. That's looking like a pretty good game.
Nice. Yeah, so the
Need
Rays
to-
actually they ended up hitting 2 more home runs today. So their differential is now 32 home runs, and they've only given up 30 runs.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good way to win baseball games, honestly. And it's the Rays out of all teams too. Kind of, I guess, like kind of a question for you, Grayson. Like, is this Rays team the real deal? Like, will we see them competing heavily for a championship this year, or is this just kind of like a fluke?
So me and Colin talked about this on Wednesday, and I think we both agreed like this team, especially when it comes to the rotation and the bullpen, is a lot of guys that we haven't seen, and we haven't seen them be successful in the past. So can we trust the fact that they're off to a hot start? I don't know because there's no body of work behind them that says that they should be this good. But
Yeah,
I feel like they could be great. And, if they just keep winning, who's to say they're not going to just keep going? Obviously, nobody's going 162-0, but if they just keep winning, 100 wins is feasible. But you could always have a month where you only win like 6 games. It happens.
yeah. The Yankees. I mean, I've talked about it on the podcast before. I think last season in August they went like 10-28. I mean, it definitely, you can fumble it all in a month in baseball.
Yeah.
You see, there was something else that I
The
wanted to
Mets
talk
do it
about.
every year.
Yeah, and the Braves seem to like, of course, it's not really the case this season because the Braves have been like really lights out early on. But I feel like the past like maybe 2 or 3 seasons, Braves have just been kind of like a second half of the season like warrior team
Yeah.
where they're kind of like average and then they just like really pick it up at the end there. So maybe we'll see the opposite for the Rays, or maybe we won't. But they have a tough division.
Yeah, they definitely
I'm not
do.
just saying that because I'm a
Uh,
Yankees fan. But
Let me talk about Pablo Lopez real quick. Pitching for the Twins, the guy has been ridiculous so far this season. In his start versus the White Sox, he gave up 3 hits and a walk to start the game, and then he retired the next 23 batters.
gosh,
It took him in this whole appearance. He threw 93 pitches, and just that first inning was 30 of them.
wow,
It's ridiculous, and part of that success is coming from the curveball. Right now, when you're facing Pablo Lopez's curveball, they're hitting 71 batting average. 71.
wow, he's got a good whip this year too.
Yeah. And on just the curveball alone, a 60.6% whiff rate.
Damn.
It's ridiculous. And I talked about it last week. The fastball is faster than he's ever thrown it. Obviously, the curveball is just otherworldly. Pablo Lopez putting together an early bid for AL Cy Young.
What the fuck is up with all these guys like going to the Twins and just like absolutely blowing up Minneapolis? Because Joey Gallo's in kind of the same boat as this guy here. This Pablo Lopez, he's had some decent seasons with the Marlins, but like nothing like this with the
Yeah.
Twins.
I was about to
Um,
make a joke about blowing up Minneapolis, but I'm just going to not. It's happened before. All right. The White Sox are just sad to watch at this point. This
for
goes
Dylan
back.
Cease.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Other than when you watch Dylan Cease pitch, the White Sox just, it's hard to watch them because bottom of the 10th against the Twins, Michael A. Taylor lays down a perfect bunt. He was going to probably get out on this throw, but the whole point of this bunt was just to move Willie Castro to second. Whoever the White Sox pitcher was in this situation tries to throw Michael A. Taylor out at first. The ball hits Michael A. Taylor in the shoulder, flies past him, and Willie Castro scores, and the Twins win in the bottom of the 10th.
That's funny.
Like, they couldn't buy wins right now.
That one actually kind of gave me the giggles. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Eh,
You know who else is horrible? Mark
Please.
Schmidt, the
Yes.
New York Yankees. When Carlos Rondon comes back, I don't think I ever want to see Clark Schmidt in pinstripes ever again. He is awful this year, absolutely awful. I think he did he spend most of last year in the AAA or something?
I believe
Or
so.
was he? Yeah, so and maybe send him back or trade him or something because it's just it's not been working out there. I want to say that I heard that Carlos Rondon's injury has actually been they've added more time to it
Yeah, apparently
as
he's
of
got some
recently.
back tightness, I believe is what I saw, that's kinda holding him back right now. Um,
Stretch it out.
yeah, we're probably still looking at him pitching within the next week or so. It's what it appears to be, because he's not I don't believe he's actually on, like, the 15-day IL or anything, like, long term. Um, I think he's just out right now.
Okay.
I do
Um,
wanna talk about Matt Olson because he hit a home run on Tuesday, 118.6 miles per hour off the bat, and that set the Braves record for the hardest hit ball in the Statcast era.
really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. And Statcast like only came out like 8 years ago, right? Like 2015 when they started tracking
So
that or
so
something.
2015 is like um it's one of the years they consider, but I think when they say Statcast era, that I think goes to 2007. I could be wrong. It's either 2015 or 2007, one of the two. I know that 2015 is when like the Statcast stuff became publicly available. So props to Matt Olson though. Damn.
Yeah, y'all got really, really lucky. I mean, of course, I think all of Braves fans can agree that they might. I actually, I don't even know. I'll just ask you: would you rather have Freddie Freeman right now?
Uh, oh man, that's hard. I'm gonna be honest. Probably yeah, but like Matt Olson's great. Um,
What a replacement and Atlanta native
yeah,
too.
like that makes Matt Olson so big in Atlanta. Like his jerseys are selling tremendously in
Yes.
Atlanta. I see him all the time. It, it's he's definitely become like because for a while it was like Acuna, Freeman, Swanson, and like Riley for a couple of years, and it's like now it's Acuna, Albies, Riley, and Olson. Those are the names that you see on the jerseys, and it's so nice to see like a guy who's literally only in his second year in Atlanta is already getting. He's like become the fan favorite.
Yeah, and I mean, even kind of like for his career, I feel like his career's just even exploded. He's in playoff games now. He's just playing meaningful baseball at a really, really high level. And it's just so much fun to watch. How about Orlando Arcia though, Grayson?
Yeah,
Is he starting to turn into the real deal for the Atlanta Braves, or is it kind of like kind of like the Rays, where it's just sort of like a surprise fluke possibility?
I don't know if it's the real deal because like he's still not a top tier shortstop even with the way he's playing. But I will say the clutch hits have been huge, and uh, it's it's more than I could ask for from a relatively cheap replacement for Dansby Swanson. He has pretty much shown to this entire coaching staff that they made the right decision in optioning Von Grissom down to AAA.
Yeah. The Braves, I envy the Braves. They just seem to make all the right decisions.
Dude, AA is the best GM. Alex Anthopoulos is straight up the GOAT. Like, he just trades for the best players. He signs young players to the most franchise friendly deals ever and just continues to make this team better year after year. And I don't get how.
Yeah, and it seems like when you watch the Braves play and you watch them kind of, like interact in the dugout and stuff, it truly is every single player seems to enjoy that team so much. Like seriously, it's so cool to watch. Of course, I'm not a Braves fan, but growing up in Georgia around Braves fans all the time, you get accustomed to it. And what feels like most of my life, the Braves have never been as good as they are now. And boy, are they good. And like I said earlier, I really want to drive this home. is every Braves player seems so happy to be on the diamond with one another. Like they just have so much fun.
Yeah, it is extremely fun to watch. And like Ozzy hit a home run the other day, puts on the super big hat and like does like a curtain call. Like it's it's so much fun to see like how this team has changed because before Acuna and Albies and Swanson and Riley all came up, this team was like a retirement home. Like Juan Uribe played or played third base for a season for the Braves, and it's like that should never happen. It was literally just Freddie Freeman getting super underrated and just ignored in Atlanta. That was all we had, and all of the sudden, it just seems like everything went our way. Like Andrelton Simmons was absolutely horrible at that point. Like Brandon Phillips was our second baseman. Matt Kemp played on the Braves. Like he led our team in RBIs one season. And all of the sudden, this young talent starts coming up and it's just become a party at Truist Park.
Yeah, dang, you just reminded me. I totally forgot that Matt Kemp was on the Braves.
Yeah, he had a 100 RBI season with
With
the
Atlanta?
Braves. Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Dang, that's interesting. Well, anyway, do we have anything more on MLB? I have
I
one
got a
more
couple
thing.
more. I have a relatively long list of things that happened this week. So
Uh,
you go ahead.
okay, you go for. Oh, you
Okay.
want me to go ahead?
I'll go ahead. I'll
Okay,
knock out a couple and then you can go. Ji
okay,
Man Choi and Ji Hwan Bae are the first Korean born teammates to homer in the same game in MLB history. That was done for the Pirates.
awesome.
Fantastic stuff. The Chicago Cubs extended Ian Happ 3 years, 61 million. No options there, so it's just a deal. And that deal will start in 2024. So that's a great move. Ian Happ is totally, it's weird. Ian Happ was like, he'd show up every now and then he was like pretty bad. And then for some reason, these last 2 years, he's just been stellar.
Yeah. The good that the Cubs kind of locked him up there. Yeah, I like that deal.
Yeah, I do want to talk about your manager over there, Aaron Boone, because I'm feeling for him with this ejection here. Because
Oh yeah, that
okay,
was
so he
bullshit.
gets tossed because the umpires ignored a rule. So I'll kind of explain the scenario and then talk about this. So Aaron Hicks appeared to have made a catch. The replays revealed it hit the ground. The umpires just sat there and talked. And after a few minutes, like it wasn't like 30 seconds over there, it was a few minutes. The umpires come out and they're like, the Guardians are challenging the catch. So that breaks the rule that there's 15 seconds to challenge for the other team. So Aaron Boone promptly walks out there and he's like, what the fuck? Like, this isn't how this works. There's rules and you guys have to follow them. And like, and then the ump just tosses him. Obviously, I'm sure Aaron Boone got much more verbal, much more angry than I explained it, but that's just how he is. I truly believe that Aaron Boone is becoming the modern day Bobby Cox when it comes to getting ejected.
I love whenever Aaron Boone gets mad. It fires me up, and I think it fires the team up too. Which I know a lot of managers will do that on purpose, right? They'll kind of like get mad on purpose to
Yeah.
fire up the team, like if they're cold. And I think Aaron Boone's great at that. But I will say that Girardi, I think, is more entertaining when he gets mad than Aaron Boone, in my opinion.
Yeah, well,
Might
I
be a
think
hot take.
Aaron Boone's really bad at like building up the argument. He just walks
Yeah,
out there, states his piece, gets thrown out, and just walks off. Like
yeah,
it's because he's so used to this process. There's some managers that are real good at walking out there, talking, building the argument up, and then just getting real fucking pissed and like really making it a show.
yeah. Aaron Boone is very entertaining though.
Yeah, that one was interesting. I'll say this one, and then you can talk about yours. Uh, Salt Lake City, like a group from Salt Lake City, including the former owner of the Utah Jazz, are planning to pursue an MLB expansion franchise in the coming years in Salt Lake City.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to go well.
Yeah, we actually did this, didn't we? Didn't we like put baseball teams in
Yeah,
cities that we'd
we
like to
did.
see?
And I just like I don't think there's a use in a Salt Lake City team if the A's go to Vegas.
Okay,
Be-
explain that.
So I just I don't think that there's a big enough market in Utah in general to support an MLB franchise.
Okay,
And I think yeah, obviously Las Vegas has the market. The AAA team for the A's plays in Las Vegas. I believe it's the Aviators. They record more attendance than the Athletics.
yeah, the Salt Lake City is kind of one of those weird markets where if you watch a Jazz game, especially you and I were just talking about watching The Last Dance, the Jazz in the '90s, with Stockton and Malone, they were selling out stadiums. The Jazz love or Jazz fans love their basketball team, but really anything else, a baseball team in Utah is just kind of I don't really know how that's going to go.
Yeah, I don't see the appeal there. I think there's other places that need a franchise more than Salt Lake City.
Yeah, no, definitely. If you put it that way, 100%. There are plenty of other cities. Like I still like the one that you said. Nashville would be
Yep,
really, really cool.
Nashville would be
Uh,
fantastic.
yeah, that's a great city for baseball. Or would be a great city for
Yeah,
baseball.
dude, imagine you got Vandy playing in the city and you have an MLB franchise.
Yeah, no, I like that one. I think one in Mexico. There's one in Canada.
Yeah,
One south of the border. Let's get some Tijuana action or something.
maybe put one in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic.
Yeah, or a team in the Dominican Republic. That'd be awesome. Anyway, I wanted to highlight, and this is kind of my last thing, I guess, for our MLB recap. But Aaron Nola still looking shit.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's bad.
Uh, yeah, against the Marlins on April 11th. I think that was Tuesday. Obviously lost the game. He went almost to 6 innings, didn't quite make it. Gave up 9 hits and 4 runs. He did get 6 strikeouts though, which is his career high, or not career high, his season high through the 3 games that he's played. But Aaron Nola is the type of athlete I think he could get it on track, but it has not been a good 3 games for him.
Yeah, it's been brutal, and it doesn't help that Zach Wheeler's also pitching bad for the Phillies.
Yeah, just a lot of bad going on for the Phillies, and to kind of add on to it, and this is something I totally forgot about until like a couple days ago. Bryce Harper is still injured
Yep.
and probably won't be back until maybe July. Maybe I've heard his surgery went well and like his progress is like really really fast. But the Phillies still have a while before their best player is back.
Yeah, so actually what I've heard um is the Phillies are having Bryce Harper practice first base because of the absence of
Wow,
Reese Hoskins. He's going to be out for the season. If Bryce they're saying that if he plays first for a little bit and he can get, pretty solid practicing there and he feels good, they'll put him at first base to speed up his return.
I like it. And is that just kind of like and this is not to shit talk any first baseman out there, but you're not really moving a lot at first base. Is that kind of why? Like it's sort of like an
Yeah.
easy physical defensive position to play, physically easy.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Obviously, there's parts of playing first base where like there's an obvious divide between Pete Alonso playing first base and Matt Olson or Freddie Freeman or Paul Goldschmidt playing first base. Like,
Rizzo, yeah,
yeah,
guys like that.
guys like that actually play the position very well defensively. Pete Alonso can't pick a ball to save his life. He probably picks his nose more than he picks a ball.
Shit on. I
It's
like
just
that,
like
but
it's a matter of you still have to be a good fielder at first base to make an impact. It is not easy when a guy is throwing 95 across the diamond and it bounces twice off the grass and then off the dirt. Like, how do you read that?
dude,
There's some
there
guys
have
that can,
been
and there's some guys that
yeah,
can't.
there have been some plays. Sorry to cut you off, but like I've always wondered how like the really good first baseman. One that we didn't mention was Goldie. He's
Yeah.
fucking amazing. Just like when a third baseman, like you said, throws it 95 miles an hour across the diamond, and it like I don't understand how some of those first basemen, it's almost automatic, even if it's in the dirt.
Yeah. Dude,
Because
I'm
the
telling you,
ball,
Freddie like
obviously,
for years, Freddie Freeman and now Matt Olson, they made Dansby Swanson look very good. They made Austin Riley look very good. Like it's very obvious when you have a very good first baseman.
oh, for sure. And it's like when the ball bounces, it's not like losing that much speed. It's still coming at you hot, and
Yeah.
especially if it bounces close to you, you're kind of having to like jam your glove into your own body. And there have been some crazy plays that I've seen at first base, but back to Bryce Harper. Do you think, Grayson, if he plays really well at first base, it could add some longevity in his career down the road if maybe they want to put him back at first base once he's older, like, kind of down towards the end of his career?
Yeah, I think it would. I think in general, taking a player out of the outfield, putting them, at first or at the DH, whatever, adds longevity to their career easily. It's a lot less strenuous on the legs than playing the outfield. It's a lot less strenuous on the arm because, first basemen aren't making a lot of throws. So it's definitely beneficial. It's something that we see a lot. Like a lot of catchers will make that move around the end of their career.
Didn't
Um,
Joe Mauer do that?
I believe so.
Yeah,
And Buster Posey played a little bit of first base. There's a few guys. If you've watched Moneyball, Scott Hatterberg, he was a catcher, hurt his elbow, could barely throw a ball, and they just like picked him up, put him at first base.
interesting. I actually have not seen Moneyball.
You have to watch it
I know. I remember the first scene is talking about like how much the Yankees make and how much the A's make. That the first scene is pretty crazy, but I've never actually seen the entire movie.
No, I'm not kidding. When we're done with this, you have to watch it
Okay, I'll watch it. I'll watch it tonight then for
because
sure.
it is my favorite movie ever.
Okay, is it the best baseball movie ever? Like
Yes.
better than Field of Dreams, better
Yes.
than Sandlot.
Yes.
Okay, okay, that's a
It's
pretty. I feel like that'd be a hot take.
I it depends on what kind of fan of baseball you are. Because if you're more a fan of movies than baseball, then you'd probably pick like Field of Dreams or, whatever. Or like The Sandlot is not highly regarded outside of like young baseball fans. I
Yeah.
feel like that's kind of the group that we see talk about The Sandlot a lot. But yeah, Field of Dreams is more of like a movie. Moneyball is baseball.
Okay, I like that.
Okay, I'm gonna finish this off with the MLB recap stuff. Um, some good news for the Phillies, as we were talking about all the bad stuff. Bryson Stott has started off the season with a 12-game hitting streak. He's the first Phillies hitter to begin the season with one since Puddinhead Jones in 1950.
Wow,
And that is not Puddinghead, that is Puddin with an apostrophe at the end.
you said that was 1915 or 50?
50. And his was
The
16
name.
games.
Oh, wow.
But let's talk about one that's a little bit more impressive. Jordan Walker. He kept his streak alive, moved it to 12 games as a rookie. He got a single in the top of the ninth to extend that hitting streak. And by a rookie, this streak has not been done since 1912.
Oh man, I love how old baseball is because when people break records, it just makes it so much more impressive. And the
Yeah.
fact this dude's 20 years old out of Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Yeah, dude. Jordan Walker is a beast. Colin
He's
talked about him a little bit on Wednesday's episode. Um, yeah, Jordan Walker's the real deal.
he's also 6'6", 245.
Yeah. And they've put him
And
in
he's
right field. He's got a cannon, and he is a fantastic third baseman as well.
kind of like I guess kind of sounds like a mini Aaron Judge out there in outfield, sort of with the
Yeah.
height and the arm, but he's actually younger than me.
Yeah. No, like me and him, I think graduated high school the same year.
Oh, that's so weird. Getting older, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we're recording a podcast. He's getting ready for an MLB game against the Pirates at 7:45. Whatever.
Yeah, it's fine. We don't care.
Yeah, it's not gonna hurt my feelings. It's not like I grew up dreaming of being a baseball player or whatever. All right, more Phillies stuff. It just kind of happened to be here at the end. Jose Alvarado is the first MLB relief pitcher in the expansion era, which is since 1961, to strike out 11 consecutive batters in a single season. Um, this is very hard to do as a relief pitcher because you're often not going more than an inning. So to strike out 11 consecutive is crazy. The only people to hit 10 are Eric Gagne in 2003 and Chad Green in 2019.
Oh, Chad Green, the Yankee.
Yes.
Wow. So he struck out. You said 11 guys.
Yeah, he struck out 11 consecutive, all as a reliever.
Why didn't they let him finish that inning? That would have meant that
Well, I
he
think
got
he
pulled with
probably
two
did.
outs.
He probably did finish the inning. It probably just stopped at 11. He
Oh,
probably gave
okay.
up like a hit or a walk or something.
That makes sense. I got it.
But that's a ridiculous streak
That's
because
fantastic.
you're
He
having to
hasn't been
do it
trailing.
across multiple days.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Very
Any
impressive.
series that you're looking at this weekend?
Ooh, hang on. Let me go back to
I'll go ahead and say
I'm
mine.
looking at.
So I talked
Yeah.
about Rays Blue Jays. That one's going to be fantastic. But we've got Twins Yankees. I think this one's going to be really good. Um, both of them at 8-4 right now. The Twins 4-2 on the road. The Yankees 4-2 at home. It's definitely looking like this one could be good. Another one, Brewers versus Padres, I think is going to be a good one as well. Uh, Brewers come in at 8-4. They're pretty hot right now. The Padres coming off of a pretty solid series against the Braves, a decent series against the Mets. They're 7-6 now. It's definitely a series to watch. Obviously, you'll be watching it late at night because it's in San Diego, but still, nonetheless, a good one.
Yeah, and I'm kind of just going to echo all the ones that you said, and except I want to add the Rangers and Astros. Rangers are 7-5, Grayson, and the Astros are below 500. So I will definitely be watching this game for sure. Rangers look like they are playing fun baseball, and good
Oh yeah,
baseball too.
definitely. All right, Luke. Shall I get into my top or my team of the week?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. We'll start off with the outfield. I didn't go specific positions in the outfield, just went for three outfielders. So, start off with Hunter Renfroe of the Los Angeles Angels. Kid's been on a tear these last 7 days, and this meaning from last Wednesday to this Wednesday. That's the window, April 6th to April 12th. He's batting the slash line 450, batting average 560 on base percentage, a 1050 slugging. That's good for a 1610 OPS. He's got 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 3 doubles. Just he scored 5 runs. He's only struck out twice. He looks absolutely phenomenal and is really helping out for a kind of struggling Mike Trout and the rest of the team outside of Shohei being pretty bad.
Yeah, last Sunday he had a game against the Blue Jays that actually went into 10 innings. He had 3 hits and 4 RBI in that game and a home run.
Yeah, impressive stuff from Hunter Renfroe. My second outfielder, Franchi Cordero of the New York Yankees. Kid's on a tear.
Uh,
I can't say otherwise. He's on a tear. 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 2 walks, which is rather impressive that he's just getting on base. Um, on base percentage at 383 for the week, but the OPS is what really stood out to me. A 1451 OPS for Franchi Cordero of the Yankees.
yeah, he hit 2 home runs in a row on the 11th and the 12th. He home run in both of those games. Yeah, he's just been kind of one of those guys that this might make really hardcore baseball fans cringe, but to me, he's a completely random player that has joined the Yankees this year, and he's been absolutely phenomenal. And I'm sure that kind of the bigger names on the Yankees are really appreciative of his contribution because he's been awesome.
Yeah, I think he tied it up like real late in the game with one of those home runs he hit. Yeah, he's definitely been hitting in like big moments and he's showing off.
Actually, he was the yesterday. He was the winning run, I think, or he drove in the winning run that won us 4-3. It was really late in the
Yeah.
game too. Awesome.
My third outfielder, Jared Kelenic of the Seattle Mariners, guy that we've kind of been waiting on to heat up, and he surely has in this last week. 3 home runs in 3 consecutive games, one of those being a 482-foot home run, the second longest of the season. He had a stolen base this week, OPS at 1520. He's slugging a 1,000 on the dot for that week, 3 doubles. It's a fantastic week from a guy that we've really just been waiting on for like a year to really show up, and he finally has.
Yeah, that dude has been hot. I hope he can continue playing like that.
Yeah, and then we'll move to the infield. We'll start it with first base. I feel like I couldn't go anywhere but Ryan Mountcastle, and he's not really hitting for numbers, but when you have a 9 RBI game, you're going to make the team of the week. 3 home runs, 12 RBIs in the week. He walked once, struck out 5 times. It's all right. But somehow, once again, randomly recorded a stolen base, scored 5 runs, only batting 261 across that week. OPS at 965, nothing to scoff at. But yeah, I was floored by the 9 RBI game.
Yeah, that game was a 12-8 win over the Athletics, and he was 9 of their runs. That's very impressive. 2
Yeah,
home runs that game too.
yeah, crazy stuff from Ryan Mountcastle this week. At second base, how could I go anywhere but Brandon Lau of the Tampa Bay Rays? This guy is just lighting it up, and he's continued it. He hit a solo shot today, but that doesn't factor into this team of the week. So, an OPS from the last week of 1936. That's almost 2,000. That's fucking ridiculous. And like the highest OPS in the league by far. Crazy stuff from Brandon Lau. 4 homers, 10 RBIs. He walked 5 times. He hit a double as well. He is certainly a major contributor to this now 13-0 Rays team.
Yeah, that 5 of those 10 RBIs came last Sunday against Athletics in an 11 to nothing shutout too. So you can really the Athletics are just getting shit on by the Rays
Yeah,
or really anybody that they see.
yeah, everybody. Actually, while we were talking earlier, Adley Rutschman hit a walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth to beat the Athletics.
Damn.
At shortstop, I've got Corey Seager. There was a couple of different guys I could have picked. Bo Bichette had a pretty good week. A few other guys as well. But Corey Seager kind of floored me with the OPS. 1682. That's the second best in the league behind Lau for this week. Only 1 home run and 3 RBIs, but 4 doubles. He scored 4 runs, and he's batting .563 over the past week. I believe that's first in the league.
Yeah, one of the reasons that the Rangers have been kind of a surprise team, I feel like this year, is because of dudes like this guy who are just absolutely showing out for him.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. At third base, I feel like I couldn't go anywhere but Matt Chapman. The guy won NL Player of the or AL Player of the Week last week, and he's just continued to do it. 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, batting .458, of OPS at 1477, a slugging just below 1,000 at 958. He's just been ridiculous. He's striking out a little bit too much, 6 strikeouts in this week, but Matt Chapman is probably the best player on the Rays, or on the Blue Jays right now.
100%. One of the best players in the league for sure. Second in batting average, just right under 500. He's got 15 RBI, which is tied for third, and an OPS of 1.390. So he's second there in the league. So this guy's been absolutely flying.
Yeah. And then at catcher, the guy who I just talked about hitting a walk-off, Adley Rutschman, this guy just continues to light it up. I think he's probably going to pass Romuto this year as the best catcher in the league. He's ridiculous. He's got the skill set, batting .526 across this past week, 4 RBIs, 2 home runs. He walked 7 times this week. That is crazy, especially for a catcher that hits for power. The kid is ridiculous. An on-base percentage of .654, an OPS of 1549. It's ridiculous what we're watching Adley Rutschman do in only his second year in the MLB.
Yeah, I was about to say this dude's only 20 fucking 5 years old.
Yeah.
That's insane. Absolutely insane.
Hey, man, that's what we expect from a number one prospect.
He was a number one prospect?
I believe so.
Wow.
And then it designated hitter. There wasn't a lot of good options here, but I ended up landing on Nelson Cruz. At what, 42 years old. He had a 6 RBI game against the Braves, and that's really what put him here. 1 home run, 8 RBIs in this last week, batting 500, a 1390 OPS over that stretch. He's looked really good. And, considering he's 42, if he just keeps doing this, it's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, he has been playing in the MLB since I was like 3 years old. I'm looking at it now. His first season was in 2005.
Yeah, I was 2.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's he's been around.
All right. That brings me to my starting pitcher. I went with Sonny Gray of the Minnesota Twins. Guy's off to a hot start just in this last week. 2 starts. He got 1 win, 12 innings pitched, only giving up 7 hits, 1 earned run, only 3 walks, 18 strikeouts, and a .75 ERA over those 2 starts. It's just crazy. And I'm very happy with how he's looking right now. He's got a 6 strikeout to walk ratio. He's lighting it up right now. And once again, another guy that's just a big part of his team's success. When Sonny Gray pitches for the Twins, it just makes him that much better.
Yeah, in a game against Houston that was on the 7th, which was I think last Friday, he had 13 strikeouts, went 7 innings, and only gave up 4 hits and 1 run.
Yeah.
What a game. Just don't put him on the Yankees. 'Cause
Yeah.
he'll play bad.
And one of the games that he pitched this week, Rocco Baldelli, the manager of the Twins, said after the game that Sonny Gray's been sick. He had an upper respiratory problem and threw up shortly before taking the mound. Then comes out, throws 5 shutout innings.
That was on Wednesday against the
Yeah,
White
against the
Sox, I
White
think.
Sox.
Yeah,
Absolutely ridiculous.
didn't give
And
up a run
then,
either. Or yeah,
yeah,
we already said that, but yeah, that's insane.
um, and then the last one, I just picked a reliever. I'm not gonna keep it boxed into closer. I'm just taking one relief pitcher every week. I landed on Pete Fairbanks of the Tampa Bay Rays. He's pitched in 2 games, got 2 saves, 2 innings pitched. He's given up 1 hit, 0 runs, 0 walks. He only struck out 1, but the craziest stat here to me is that he's faced 7 batters in those 2 appearances. He got 2 saves. He only threw 19 pitches total.
Wow, that's a pretty good stat there.
Yeah, so averaging about 9.5 pitches per inning this past week.
Yeah, that's efficiency right there. This dude's been a dog.
Yeah, and the fact that he hasn't walked a single person as like I guess he's the closer now. He's got the saves. He's not a guy that I would have expected to be, a solid closer, but he's definitely here. And though the Rays have been winning by quite a lot, seems like he's come in those 2 games that they didn't and done a great job.
Yeah, I've liked what I've seen from this dude for sure.
All right, well that's the team of the week. I guess it's technically week 2, but my first team of the week of the year. I'll keep bringing them to you. And then at the end of each month, instead of a team of the week, we'll hit the team of the month. So, Luke, let's go ahead and get into some NFL news.
Let's do it.
All right, it's not totally official yet, but it appears that Dan Snyder is selling the Commanders to Josh Harris's group, which includes Magic Johnson. I'm not too sure. I haven't looked into it much to see if Robert Griffin III is actually a part of it. I know he was in talks of joining, but I can confirm that Magic Johnson is a part of Josh Harris's ownership group.
That's awesome. And I one thing that we actually haven't talked about, I don't think yet, and it's definitely it's a valid conversation to have. Do you think there will be legal action taken against like Dan Schneider after he sells the team, or is he just going to sell the team and fall off the face of the earth?
Unfortunately, I think that'll be the case.
Yeah, I do too.
I
I
would
don't think
love,
anybody's going to go after him.
yeah, I would love to see justice served, but He's got the kind of money that, once he's out of the situation, he could just disappear.
And the kind of power. I mean, he literally threatened Roger Goodell. Like, if you come after me, I have dirt on you too. Like,
Yeah,
completely blackmailed him whenever Roger Goodell, was threatening action against him. So it sucks. It sucks, to kind of like talk about that he probably won't have justice served to him, but at least he'll be out of the NFL. And it
yeah,
seems like relatively soon, sooner than we thought.
yeah. Packers running back Aaron Jones. He was asked about his contract revision, where he went from 16 million all the way down to 11 million in 2023. He said that he wouldn't call it a pay cut because he never actually made $11 million in his career. So, still the most he'll ever make, and still makes him the second highest paid running back. He said that it matched up with the market, and he didn't want to be greedy. I think he's probably one of the first NFL players to just be like, yeah, I'll take 5 million less, and just so I'm not greedy.
If you're a Packers fan, go buy his jersey.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say. Because what you're gonna have to remind me, but we talked about something that he did not too long ago. It may have been in regards to contract talks and stuff, but was it in regards to a pay cut?
Yeah, I
Because we've
think
talked
I
about it
think
before.
I think when this happened back in February, we talked about it and we were like, wow, like look at Aaron Jones, like this is a fantastic idea for him, helping the team out, and just continues to back it up. I love what I'm seeing. I love Aaron Jones in general.
Me too, and I hope Matt Lafleur starts putting the ball in his hands more because he definitely deserves it. What a guy, what a player. I love Aaron Jones.
Yeah. All right. Famed NFL reporter Quandre Diggs tweeted, according to my sources, the Seahawks are going big and kicking off the draft by hosting a party at the Space Needle, reported by Quandre Diggs. I love the way he formatted this tweet. Obviously, like, nobody really cares that the Seahawks are having a draft party at the Space Needle, but it's so funny that Quandre Diggs tweeted this out like this.
I know, and I don't know the Space Needle. I feel like that'd be badass to hold a draft party
It's
there if
cool.
you're
It's
the
cool.
Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, that's an awesome tweet.
Yeah. So I'm not too sure how much you've heard about this, Luke, but Devin White earlier this week requested a trade from the Buccaneers, and now it's being reported that the Buccaneers have no intention of trading Devin White.
Everybody trying to jump ship.
Yeah, they are the Buccaneers. Trying to play somewhere where there isn't a ship in the stadium, maybe.
Yeah. And Devin White, that's he's a fucking premier player in this league. That would be a huge trade. I wonder what's going to happen. I mean, they obviously have to do something. If he's requesting a trade and the Buccaneers have zero intention, then I would think that they would want to keep him happy, right?
Yeah, which the only way to keep him happy right now is pay him what he deserves, and they're certainly not looking at it.
Yeah, for sure. What's his contract looking like now?
I'm not sure specifically, but he might be on his rookie deal still.
Yeah, and he might be kind of like at least soon up for his bigger deal, I guess, and which is why he's, I guess, unsettled.
Yeah, so this season, no, okay, so this season he's going to be making 11 million and he believes that he should be making more. I think that's fair.
Yeah, he needs to be making more than 11 mil,
Yeah.
I think. He's an absolute dog who will probably continue to be a dog for a much longer time. He's still young.
Yeah, he is. It's only 2023 is going to be his 5th season. Like that is not it's not all that much for a guy that has certainly cemented himself as a very solid middle linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, shit, if the Buccaneers don't want him, I'll take him in Pittsburgh. I'm sure you'll take him in Atlanta if it came down to
Yeah.
that.
Ah, fuck it. Whatever.
He's awesome. He is awesome.
I'll give you 15.
I'll give him 17.
All right, you can have him. Done deal. As the GMs of the Falcons and Steelers, respectively, that deal is done. You guys can feel
Yeah.
free to report that. I know Adam
Yep.
Scheffner's listening, so
Oh, dude, he texts me all the time. Great
yeah.
episode, Luke. Keep it up.
Thanks, Shefty. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Jets because how could we not? So, interesting opportunity here for Aaron Rodgers because this is going to be the first time if he actually goes to the Jets. There's no fucking telling. I think we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. But if he does go to the Jets with Garrett Wilson and Corey Davis at wide receiver, this will be the first chance he has to throw a touchdown to a first round wide receiver in his career.
Which is why he's not with the Packers anymore.
Yeah. So this is such an interesting stat, and it's even crazier when you hear this. So the most touchdown passes without a touchdown to a first round wide receiver since 1970. Blake Bortles in third with 103. Steve Bartkowski in second with 156. Aaron Rodgers in first with 475.
So 300 more than second place.
Yeah, 319 to be exact.
So that's his entire career, right?
Yeah.
Wow. That's insane. Did Brett Favre have any first rounders?
I'm sure there was one.
I mean, he had
Who was
Shannon
his
Sharp's brother,
uh
Sterling, who
yeah,
was good.
Sterling Sharp, who I believe was a first rounder.
Yeah, and I don't know if Donald Driver, all the way from back in the day, was a first round. Greg Jennings wasn't a first round draft pick.
I don't
Aaron
know.
Rodgers.
I
That's
think I
insane.
think that I just overrate Greg Jennings because of the Madden video.
Oh, I would with the oh yeah, I know exactly what
Yeah,
video you're talking
that
about. It
that's
took me a
like my favorite sports themed internet video ever.
second. Dude, when he pauses it,
Yeah,
oh, Aaron
let's go,
Sharp or whatever he said.
Darren Sharper.
Yeah.
Let's go into the
That's
mind of a Greg Jennings.
I
Classic
love that
shit right there.
video.
All right, let's talk about Cynthia Freeland of NFL Network. She put out a pro comparison for the top quarterback prospects using a context based data model. Some interesting results here, to say the least. So we'll start off with Bryce Young. So all of these are a combination of two players, which is kind of weird, but they're saying that Bryce Young is Tua Tagovailoa and Teddy Bridgewater. I
Hmm.
I don't think so. Personally, I don't see much of a similarity. I like Teddy Bridgewater is a little bit of like a smaller quarterback. Tua is kind of the complete opposite of Bryce Young. Tua is like pretty big. He's lefty. Um, not really reliant as much on running, whereas Bryce Young definitely runs a fair share, which I guess would be the similarity to Teddy Bridgewater. I feel like to me, a better comparison would be like Drew Brees and Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, actually, Drew Brees, I feel like fits perfect. I kind of can't really like comment on how I feel about the Teddy Bridgewater association because like I can barely remember when like Teddy Bridgewater was like a premier quarterback, honestly. It's been a while now.
Yeah, I think that's true. But when you think about his time in Minnesota when he was the starter, he was certainly like above average.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he was fun. But yeah, no, I kind of agree with you there. I think Drew Brees fits a lot better than Tua.
Yeah. CJ Stroud's came out with Dak Prescott and Jared Goff. I kind
Not very
of
flattering.
it's not flattering, but these are two guys that have certainly had their fair share of moments. Obviously Jared Goff, a Super Bowl quarterback. People forget that often. But I get it because it's like, okay, both of these guys kind of pure passer, move around in the pocket a little bit, but I think CJ Stroud is a lot more athletic than both of these guys.
And I would say that CJ Stroud is a little bit more of like a stronger arm than both of
Yeah,
these guys too. Yeah, Dak Prescott and Jared Goff. Wow.
it's an interesting one, but this has got to be the worst. Anthony Richardson is Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts.
Interesting.
Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, it can't be
uh,
serious.
I don't really Carson Wentz. Huh.
I don't see the Carson Wentz part at all, other than that they're both big.
Yeah, big and maybe kind of struggle with like certain defensive like schemes against them. Maybe.
Maybe I get, but like the Jalen Hurts, I get it because they could both run, but they're different types of runners. Like Anthony Richardson is a physical runner, Jalen Hurts is an elusive runner.
Yeah, and I feel like, Anthony Richardson is more of your spectacular kinda runner, more like Justin Fields, while Jalen Hurts is more like almost like a systematic runner, like a lot
Yeah.
of QB sneaks and a lot of short runs and a lot of, like, actual plays designed for him to run.
Yeah, I think Anthony Richardson has, like, the strength over Jalen Hurts and, like, the athleticism, but Jalen Hurts, I think, is just a more skilled runner.
Yeah, I like that take.
So I get the Jalen Hurts part. Uh, I couldn't tell you why Carson Wentz is anywhere close to this list, but whatever. Will Levis. This one's like the the most mean thing they could have said, and I'm glad they did. Will Levis is Sam Darnold and Jay Cutler.
Ah, tough.
That's
Sorry,
brutal.
Will.
Like I hate Will Levis, but Sam Darnold and Jay Cutler? That just
I
means
mean,
like what is he getting from Sam Darnold? The fact that he can't read a defense, throws a lot of interception, like that's what Sam Darnold does. He has the ability to throw the ball very far, but he's inconsistent. So I see the Sam Darnold one. Jay Cutler, kind of the same boat. Strong pocket passer. Never was fantastic. Was always like pretty good. Also bad. Um,
I see Jay Cutler more than I see Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I guess. I think that Jay Cutler and Will Levis physically line up a lot better. I do understand where Sam Darnold comes from, though.
Yeah, no, I get that. I feel like, it's also kind of Sam Darnold and Jay Cutler are also kind of 2 quarterbacks, and I wanna say that when they were, about to get drafted, they were kind of perceived as, like kinda like with what people say about Will Levis. He is most teachable quarterback. He looks like an NFL quarterback.
Yeah,
Which also, I guess kinda seems to be a pattern of you probably shouldn't draft those guys.
that's true. And then our last one is Hendon Hooker, and this one honestly is like, I think this one's perfect. It's Jacoby
Like
Brissett
yeah.
and Daniel Jones. Like it, it seems about right.
I like this one, but kind of the same thing with what I said about CJ Stroud is Jacoby Brissett and Daniel Jones, and especially with Hendon Hooker, they do not have the arm that Hendon Hooker has.
Well, I think that's the Jacoby Brissett part because Jacoby Brissett can certainly just sling the ball down the field. A lot of times resulting in a pick, unlike what Hendon Hooker had. But I get it a little bit where it's like, okay, they're strong. They've got a strong arm because Jacoby Brissett does have a strong arm. He's just relatively inconsistent when it's throwing over the middle, which I guess Hendon Hooker did kind of have a problem with in college. Not too bad of a problem, but he typically stuck to the outside. And then Daniel Jones, it's kind of that like, run when you need to and can certainly make something out of nothing type ability that Hendon Hooker also holds. So I think that this one's the most accurate of the whole list.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. It definitely is the most accurate.
All right. Saquon, some very interesting news here. He will not be signing the franchise tag. Therefore, he will not be eligible to participate when the Giants offseason program begins Monday.
Big, very big.
Yeah. Like this is interesting because this means the Giants have to throw some cash at him.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of this kind of has to do with them sort of maybe prioritizing slash choosing Daniel Jones over Saquon, who's and we've talked about it. Running backs do not have the longevity that a quarterback will have. That I mean, like, there's not even a comparison there in regards to longevity. But Saquon's been there longer. He's more of a giant than Daniel Jones is, I would say. I'm
Yeah.
sure that that signing had to have just a little bit offended him.
Oh, yeah, I'd be offended.
Yeah, big time.
Um the Jets, a little bit more happening with them every day. They've got some interest now in making a run at DeAndre Hopkins now that they've missed out on Odell. Of course, Sauce Gardner had to get to Twitter to recruit his guy. He said, "Me and D Hop had a great talk when I was in Dallas last week." Man, I love Sauce and his involvement in social media.
Dude, give him a bucket hat and a clipboard, and I wouldn't even fucking. He's just another scout out there. I wouldn't know who he is.
Yeah, dude, he's doing better work than any of the reporters.
Yeah, he is. He really is, and the whole like I'll burn the cheese head if you know like that whole thing with Aaron Rodgers. Like he knows how to entice. You know he's good at that. But I just think Grayson, wouldn't this be so funny if Aaron Rodgers was like, I don't really think so, and just
That would be funny.
could you imagine, dude? All these fucking players would be contacting their lawyers like, how the fuck do I get off this team? That would be hilarious.
Yeah. Um, and a little bit more Jets before we talk about the last thing and then draft. Woody Johnson, the owner, I believe, maybe the GM. I'm blanking, but he doesn't want to guarantee a first after what happened with the Broncos and Russell Wilson. Jets, yeah, the owner. He wants to add conditionals to the deal. It was reported that the parties had the parameters of the deal in place, but after Rodgers said the 90% retired thing on the Pat McAfee show, Woody Johnson got kind of scared to spend high draft capital on him, and that would kind of explain why the Packers don't want to take less as well.
Yeah, so that pretty much explains why this is taking so damn long.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting because it really has been a long time. I can't remember kind of a time where a trade that was like almost a 100 percenter has been drawn out this long, which is kind of like I don't know. I feel like we haven't heard from Aaron Rodgers about this in a while, and it's kind of made me wonder, like, if there is an if in this trade, like, is there a possibility that Aaron Rodgers won't be a Jet?
I don't think so. They'll figure something out because at some point the Packers are going to be like, "Oh shit, he's still on the books and OTAs are starting." Or,
Yeah,
something is going to happen. They'll be like, "Okay, we'll do it." But
yeah,
on the Jet side, it's like, "Okay, well, we want this guy here now."
yeah, exactly.
So
It's
it's
weird.
they're playing chicken right now. That's really what it is.
Yeah, that is pretty much what it is.
All right. The NFLPA's report card being dropped was completely random. Nobody was really aware of that happening, and then it just comes out, and it appears that the owners are rather embarrassed by this, and I'm glad they are.
Yeah, good. NFL owners are kind of
Bitches.
collectively shitty. Yeah, like seriously, they are strange billionaires.
They
Really.
are.
Yeah, you're right. I'm glad. I know a lot of teams, have a good like kind of player and coaching staff. Like they all have good relationships with the owners, but like the NFLPA did an awesome job here, and I'm glad that they kind of had to do some. I guess like aggressive journalism, if you want to call it that, against these owners because they 100% need to be held more accountable. 100%.
Yeah, like the shit that we saw on those report cards and like some of the reports that came out after them, like these are things that need to be addressed. And now there's pressure from the public for it to be addressed and pressure from the players like publicly that like these owners need to do something about it.
Yeah, it's not like they don't have the means to,
No, they've got
and
plenty
that's
of
just the
money.
thing. Yeah, so I am right there with you. Like the word embarrassed just really just brings a smile to my face because
Yeah,
they ought to be
they
seriously.
should. All right, last thing before we get into some draft talk. Giants defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence will not report to the team's offseason program on Monday due to his unresolved contract situation. So it's not just Saquon that's getting fucked over. Looks like they don't even want to pay Dexter Lawrence yet, which I don't think's the case. I think they're going to hash out a pretty penny for Dexter Lawrence with how good he was last year, but certainly something to watch because if the Giants don't do this right, they are really going to fuck themselves over on both sides of the ball.
Exactly. And they've even they have had an exciting offseason. They were exciting last year, and they're on the verge of kind of they've added some guys, but they're on the verge of losing their important guys that have been there and given them their all throughout multiple seasons. And Dexter Lawrence is an absolute dog that they need to bring back. And lucky for the Giants, it seems like he is a little bit more committed to sticking with them. But we'll just have to see.
All right. Let's get into a little bit of draft talk. So, in the last week, the Texans have hosted CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. in my mind, still, I'm still stuck with CJ Stroud at 1, but it just seems like it keeps switching every day.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I agree.
It's such a weird thing because so when I think it was either the combine or like Ohio State's pro day. Right after that, CJ Stroud was the favorite, kind of by far, betting favorite to be the number one overall pick. Now, Bryce Young has skyrocketed to minus 300 as the favorite to be the number one overall pick. That's per the Caesars Sportsbook. It's just so back and forth here. I thought, for a little bit, it was like, okay, it's a lock. Bryce Young's going number one. Then we start talking about the sides and all that and all the issues there. And then combine and pro days and meetings and all that happen. And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, CJ Stroud is going to the Panthers. Well, is he? Like, there's no telling right now.
Exactly. And that's what's kind of keeping this so entertaining for me is even like holistically, if we would just want to look at the draft as a whole for a second, we really don't know what the fuck is going to happen this year at all. And I am really enjoying the chaos, especially, doing the podcast. There's a lot of content here and it's awesome. It is so much fun to pay attention to.
Yeah,
I'm still on team CJ Stroud and
same.
I'm not hopping off because season's over and combine is over, and I still just don't understand how, like you just said, Bryce Young, where did this skyrocket come from? Did it come from this meeting alone? Or you know what I'm saying? Like it's just and the same thing happened with Anthony Richardson. Of course, it came out that he had lost all this weight and he has the body of a Greek god. He's athletic as fuck. But like the hype that some of these players are getting is just like it's just it's just adding fuel to the flames as far as like how crazy this draft is going to be.
Yeah, let me tell you, come draft night, we are going to have some interesting things to talk about. But let's talk about Will Anderson for a second. The Lions hosted Will Anderson. The Lions, they have the 6th overall pick. It doesn't seem like he'd drop that low, but with talks that the Cardinals might trade down and, you know, uh, fucking Chris Sims put out a list where he had Will Anderson as his 5th best edge rusher in the draft. Like,
Wow.
things like that will hurt your stock. But I still think that if the Cardinals don't trade down, they're getting Will Anderson.
Yeah, but just kind of reading this, it would be so cool to have Aiden Hutchinson and Will Anderson on the other side.
Oh
That
yeah.
would be pretty sick.
Yeah,
I just
that
don't
would
think it'll
be
happen.
crazy. But yeah, I don't see him dropping that far because honestly, like the Seahawks, I guess don't really need an edge. They're more in line to either go like Jalen Carter or maybe a quarterback. But I I don't know. Like there's the possibility that Jalen Carter drops. There's a possibility that a bunch of teams just make draft day trades and all the quarterbacks just go off the board in the top 5. Like there's no
Yeah,
telling what's going to happen.
no, and that's why, dude, I can't wait for the draft.
Yeah,
That is going to be so much fun.
going to be fantastic. And then TCU running back Kendre Miller, who I've kind of forgotten about throughout this whole draft process. I forgot he was going to the NFL. He met with the Chargers and the Rams on Sunday or Saturday at TCU, and then also has a couple of visits this week with the Giants, Bills, and Cardinals. Kendre Miller was a guy that I was super hot on during the season for TCU. I thought he was a huge part of that team. Ends up going down with an injury late in the season. I think it was in the Big 12 championship game, maybe. But Kendre Miller was so good for like definitely like a couple of weeks, but really the whole season he was solid. And a lot of people have overlooked him in these draft talks. I don't think he's going to go first round. I think that Bijan, in my mind, is the only running back even worth a first round pick. But I think Kendre Miller's probably a day 2 kind of guy, maybe mid second round. It just depends. I haven't really seen his name a lot, so I can't say for certain that he is. But maybe people see him going ahead of like Devin Achane out of Texas A&M, maybe even ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama. But there's really no telling.
I think Kendre Miller here. I would like to see the Chargers personally,
Yeah, especially if they're going to lose Eckler.
especially if they're going to lose Eckler. But really interesting, that he has some meetings with the Giants too.
Yeah, that is concerning almost.
Yeah, very concerning. But I'm excited for the running backs. Jameer Gibbs, like you just brought up, is going to be another good one, and of course Bijan Robinson. The running backs, I feel like, honestly, as a whole, are being overlooked in this draft. Yeah, Kendre Miller to the Chargers. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. And then another guy that's kind of come out of nowhere, but I've seen him in a couple of first rounds. Georgia Tech edge rusher Keon White. He's visiting with the Titans. I believe that was on Wednesday. He was visiting with the Titans. That's another kind of interesting development. I didn't see him very much, and then all of the sudden, I see him, make it into like I think he was like pick 30 in one that I saw, and then I've seen him in the 20s in a couple. The Titans, they're picking at 14. It would be crazy to see a guy who really hasn't been talked about at all jump all the way up there to the Titans at 14 or 13,
That
I
would.
think. I think
I
they're at
have a
13.
game
I think
from him.
Patriots are 14. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're good. Yeah, I like, of course, I do go to Georgia now, but I actually grew up a Georgia Tech fan, so it's always like kind of nice to see and like hear about players about them or players coming out of there. I would honestly like it better if Georgia Tech was, a better team because that Georgia Tech rivalry would be so sick if Georgia Tech was good. But Keon White actually had a game against North Carolina this year where I think he recorded 3 sacks against them, and UNC was pretty good this year. So super impressive game, and yeah, I would like to see where this guy can land, especially kind of like how you talked about coming out of nowhere, basically. So this is an interesting dude.
Yeah. And rumor on the street is that the Buccaneers are in love with Will Levis.
Oh,
That's just. You really want to go Tom Brady to Will Levis? I would rather go Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield.
oh man, I don't know.
At least
I don't
Baker has
know.
has made it to the playoffs before. Like I don't there is nothing about Will Levis other than the fact that he is built like an NFL quarterback that makes me think that any team should just be like, "Yeah, we love Will Levis."
Yeah, I would take Hendon Hooker over Will Levis.
Yeah, I would too.
Honestly, and I feel like with the way that people like to talk about Will Levis, I'm sure that that was a pretty hot take to some people, but I love Hendon Hooker, especially over Will Levis. Will Levis is just he might have the build, but like, can he throw?
Yeah, look, he's got a cannon. I can't even doubt that. He's got a cannon. Can he throw
Yeah,
to the right team? That's a question. Just in general, can he be a solid starting quarterback? I didn't see it at Kentucky in this last season. Obviously, just a down year in general for the whole team, but Will Levis looked bad, and it just made things worse that it seems like other quarterbacks have just emerged and look better.
and Will Levis is one of those guys that, like, with the attention that he's gotten, I think he'll be a day one starter anywhere that he goes. Really, or at least that's kind of my prediction, but he probably shouldn't be. If you want to have like a good draft pick with Will Levis, I think he's kind of like Anthony Richardson. He'll need to sit behind somebody where
Yeah,
I'm comfortable. And maybe, who knows, like how you said, Baker Mayfield, he is on the Buccaneers now. Maybe he can sit behind Baker Mayfield. I'm sure Baker Mayfield, with his past, would be a fantastic mentor.
that's true. He could probably teach you a couple things, like where the best nightclubs are.
A keg
Um,
stand.
yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
interesting. I would be
Would
very
be.
interested to see the man that Will Levis becomes when Baker Mayfield is his mentor.
Yeah. That'd be pretty cool. But I mean, I don't personally hate the Buccaneers for Will Levis. It's just if he's a day one starter, he's going to get murdered.
Yeah, I think that one's safe to say. All right, one last thing in college or in draft talk that I want to bring up, and that's CJ Stroud's real name because I had never seen this before yesterday. His name is Coleridge, Coleridge, Coleridge Bernard Stroud the Fourth.
King's name.
Yeah, it's a solid name.
I like that. Good job, CJ
Actually, the
Stroud.
same place where I saw his name, I actually found out his dad is in prison and is serving a 38-year sentence.
No, it's really funny that you brought that up because this entire episode we went without talking about crime on this podcast, and here
Yeah.
we are
Yep, here we
talking
are.
about
Yeah.
crime.
So yeah, CJ Stroud, his father hasn't really been there at all, I believe, is what I've heard. Um, I don't have the article in front of me that I saw and I can't find it. But yeah, apparently since CJ got to Ohio State, him and his dad have begun, talking, and they talk every week after every one of his games. But it's interesting to see because we don't get to see this story a lot with quarterbacks.
No, not really.
Yeah, like
Um,
it kind of feeds into the stupid shit that Deion Sanders said, where he was like, "I want my quarterbacks to be from a two parent household and blah blah blah," and then like I want my defensive lineman or whatever to be like, I can't even remember what he said, like beaten. I don't know, but
Jesus Christ.
that's
You
obviously
know
not
what
what he
though?
said. But it was along those lines. Um,
That is a interesting dynamic though that I've just noticed. And you said that
yeah.
Deion Sanders said that?
Yeah, Dion said it himself. Like he wants his quarterbacks to be like straight A students, two parent household, like all that, and then he wants like his defensive players to like have a rough upbringing, essentially.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of I don't know if I'd really say that.
Yeah. Oh,
But
me, that was me and Brock's reaction to the same thing, like that exactly. It was like, why do you have to
yeah,
say this?
to change the subject, I actually have a really good question. Where does the J come from in his name?
I think it's
CJ.
just the sound of his name
Ulrich
because there's
Bernard
like
Stroud.
there's kind of like a J sound with DGE.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
I don't know where else it would come from. That's his full name. So maybe he just didn't want to be Coleridge.
Yeah,
I
Coleridge is I
I
don't know.
can't decide how I want to say. I want to say Coleridge, but it's not spelled that way.
It's just I mean, it looks like Coleridge
Yeah,
in the prep sheet. So I
I don't
don't
know.
know.
Maybe I'll ask him. Me and CJ Stroud talk all the time.
Yeah, kind of like how Adam Schefter and I talk all the
Yeah,
time.
you and Schefter are always talking, and then me and CJ Stroud talk. So whenever Schefter tweets anything about CJ Stroud, trust that it came from me to Luke to Schefter. All right, Luke, enough of the jokes. Or is it a joke? No. Top 10 safeties from this past season to round out this series we've done. My God, has it been quite quite the struggle throughout these months of putting together these lists and like actually believing in them.
Yeah. Seriously, yeah.
And
Um,
I gotta say, this is the least prepared I've ever been for one. I didn't realize that I was so engulfed in all of my other notes that I totally skipped over this list. I made it about what it's 10, 15 minutes before we recorded.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so look, if it's bad, feel free to attack me. I'm
Okay.
gonna admit defeat already.
I will I will take I will take the first one here,
All right,
Grayson.
I appreciate that.
At number 10, I'm gonna go with Buda Baker. This dude, he had a little bit of an off year, but there are a lot of things that I want to note here that he did very well. 75 solo tackles, by far the most on my list. Very impressive. One forced fumble, two interceptions, seven passes defended, and then I'm going to get into the grades here that were all very good. 80.2 run defense grade, which was his run defense and kind of hints the 75 tackles. It was by far the best aspect of his game in this last year because I mean he was just eating running backs up. Very entertaining to watch. And another thing, 8 tackles at or behind the line of scrimmage. He was third in that stat, so pretty high there. And also, I haven't talked about coverage yet, which is a big part of safeties. Weeks 12 through 16, he actually ended up getting hurt, I think, week 16 or 17. He was graded at an 80.7, which would have put him pretty high. So for those kind of like 4 to 5 weeks, he was an absolute dog in coverage. But yeah, Buda Baker had a little bit of an off year, but I still love the dude. He made my top 10.
All right. My number 10 is Jesse Bates III, formerly the Cincinnati Bengals, now a Falcons player. a great year for him. Really a bounce back. Down year in 21, but fourth most WAR at his position in 2022. Um, Mainly just because he played a lot. Played more than 1,000 defensive snaps, fourth time in his 5-year career, and
Yeah,
earned him a top 20 grade in both coverage and run defense. I am just, this could just be me being so excited for Jesse Bates to be on the Falcons, but I really do think that he was fantastic last season.
I love Jesse Bates. That is by far, I think, y'all's best offseason move. I for my number 9, I'm gonna go with the guy that barely really played actually, Jimmy Ward. 3 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 5 passes defended, and he had 2 stuffs. This guy, like, literally barely only played like 500 snaps. So I think if you're under 500, you don't get a PPF grade or PFF. Sorry, I do that all the time. I don't think you get a PFF grade if you're under 500 snaps, but he, barely made the cut there. He had a 91.8 run defense grade, which was the best among all safeties. He had an average depth of tackle of just 2 yards, and he also didn't miss a tackle all year long.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah, I just love the whole, best run defense grade out of all safeties and 3 interceptions.
Yeah, that's crazy considering that
Awesome.
like he played a decent amount of snap like in the games that he was in, he was very much an impact player on the field in such a
Well, 100%.
star-studded defense.
Yeah, he was a big reason that they were, super, super good. But yeah, Jimmy Ward made my number 9.
All right. My number 9, Kyle Duggar of the New England Patriots. A guy that only his 3rd year in the league. It's fantastic. A very much a Bill Belichick pick in the draft for him. He was drafted 14th or sorry, I was looking at the wrong 2nd round out of Lenore Rhine and has just been pretty damn good. Top 20 run defense grade at a 76.7 and a top 10 coverage grade at 78.3. He's just a big part of this Patriots defense, which was very important last year because their offense really could not get it going, and they still had a late run at the playoffs. Kyle Duggar was a huge part of that team and, playing a majority of the snaps, actually near the line of scrimmage, some in the box. Like, they had him all over the field, but crazy how much action he was involved in as a safety.
Yeah, I like how he has progressed in the league. He's starting to turn into, a really, really solid safety over there in New England. But my number 8, and I actually forgot about this guy that he made my list, but I am super excited to talk about this dude. So Rodney McLeod,
McLeod.
Cloud, thank you. 11-year vet became a starter in week 3. 59 solo tackles, which is high among my list. 2 interceptions, 8 passes defended. He was targeted 59 times in coverage, which was the second most in his position. But he allowed just a 64.4 completion rate, which was third best coverage among safeties. He was sixth best in WAR. And the dude is a free agent right now. The Colts did not re sign him. And I've seen rumors of an Eagles reunion because he was on the team that won the Super Bowl. But yeah, my favorite stat is that he is a free agent.
Yeah, that's crazy. And what's crazier is that he's also my number 8.
Uh-huh.
And you essentially covered everything. Like it's crazy. The stat that I love the most was that he was targeted 59 times in coverage and allowed just a 64.4% completion rate. Third best coverage among safeties at 85.3. That is a crazy number right there. I probably would have put him higher if, he played the entire season and like had a bit more importance on that defense. He's definitely an important part. But I think, if he was, week 1 starter, started every single game, like was very much like in the spotlight, I probably could have put him higher.
Yeah, that's a good take there. My number 7 was an interesting guy. This dude, I think he played with the Rams last season. He's with the Bills now, which is interesting because they now have Micah Hyde, uh, Jordan Poyer, and Taylor Rapp, who is my number 7. This guy last year had 2 interceptions, 6 passes defended, 1 fumble recovery, run defense grade of 82.3, coverage grade of 72.9. Not that good, but he's still above 70, which is, pretty decent. Those were both career highs, by the way. Allowed 7.5 yards per reception, which was tied for second on 48 targets, which is a career best. 84.6 tackle grade has him at 12th. Missed tackle rate only at a 6.3. And he has been below 10% in all of his 4 years as far as missed tackle rate. So good tackling safety.
Yeah, that's a fantastic pick. At number 7, I've got Kevin Byard of the Tennessee Titans. Overall graded at a 78.7 on PFF. Followed up a very good 2021 season with another top 10 performance. Fourth time in his 7-year career that he's finished in PFF's top 10. His numbers were just impressive. The 6th straight season of more than 1,000 defensive snaps and top 5 grades as a tackler with a 90.1 grade in tackling and an 81 in coverage. Absolutely crazy year for Kevin Byard, who just seems to just continue to improve every year of his 7-year career now.
Yeah, that he's one of the few bright lights on that Titans team.
Yeah, it's like him and Jeffrey Simmons on the defense, and that's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. For my number 6, I went with Cameron Curl of the Commanders. This is a dude who's just now kind of, starting to break out, starting to look good. First of all, he was a 7th rounder, excuse me, 7th rounder in 2020. Um, so in 2 years, he has really, really progressed. And last year, he had 5.5 stuffs, which is pretty high on my list. He also had a sack. Upgrades, I think he was top 10 in run defense and coverage, which is, always solid for safeties. He also had a 4.7 missed tackle rate, which has him at 6th among safeties. So Cameron Curl was my number 6. I love how this guy is starting to break out, kind of like Kyle Duggar.
Yeah. My number 6, I went with Derwin James, and I maybe put him a little high. I'm not sure really because last year was kind of a down year when you look at the numbers because of how good he has been, but he put up a 71.3 grade in man coverage. That's 13th, but he allowed the lowest yards per reception at 7 among all safeties. He's got huge value as a blitzer, a 90.9 pass rush grade. That's second, and 9 pressures. That's tied for 6th, 4 sacks on 31 pass rush attempts. Just his impact all over the field is what makes Derwin James so damn good.
Damn, that was low,
Okay, yeah, I
in my
thought that
opinion.
I wasn't sure if I went high or low here with Derwin James because I don't think he plays the safety position as traditional as some others because of kind of how much he plays in the box and pass rushes. But I think yeah, I probably could have put him higher.
You're kind of having me think you're having me think that I put him too high.
I don't
But
know. Hey, it's all up to your interpretation.
exactly. My number 5. I hate talking about other AFC North players, but I just have to. You know what? The Ravens drafted Kyle Hamilton, and it worked out. Who the fuck cares? But anyway, let's just run through this. He made my top 5. Kyle Hamilton, 1 forced fumble, 5 passes defended, 3.5 stuffs. This dude is an interesting safety because he's 6'4", 220. That's kind of exactly like he plays how his body is. Top 5 grades in run defense and pass rush. I don't know if I said it, but 3.5 stuffs. So he's, getting into the run game there. Also, a top 10 coverage grade at 76.8. So Kyle Hamilton is unfortunately really solid. So he made my number 5.
My number 5 is Ryan Neal of the Seattle Seahawks. Actually, the highest graded safety on PFF with an 85.6. He had a fantastic season. I would have put him higher if his season started really before week 5. He wasn't the starter until week 5. Finally, it was like primary, but after week 5, didn't allow a single touchdown, just a 54.3% completion percentage on 35 targets, 20% forced incompletion rate, only a 51.3 passer rating when he was targeted, and the second best coverage grade at the position with an 85.7. Ryan Neal had an out of nowhere fantastic season, and he might have stolen Jamal Adams' job.
Another damn Seahawk too. They just have all these, awesome players out of nowhere, it seems like for them. Um, for number 4, this is where I have Kevin Byard. What a player this guy is. 69 tackles, nice, but also nice in the sense that like it is very, very high. I kind of thought, Buda Baker at 75 would kind of be alone, but no, Kevin Byard is right there behind him, only 6 tackles less. Also 4 interceptions. He had 6 passes defended, and kind of just echoing what you said earlier, six straight season playing 1,000 snaps. That is super impressive. This is a grueling game, and with 69 tackles, Kevin Byard is it's not like he's not involved. So very involved safety there, and you've already said this as well, but a top 5 tackle grade, a top 5 coverage grade. Yeah, Kevin Byard is just really solid, super underrated player in the league.
Yeah. My number 4, Kyle Hamilton. Guy's just ridiculously good, and as a rookie as well, it's crazy. He wasn't the full time starter for the entire season, but I think that when it comes down to what he did across his entire year, it's crazy. The size and athletic ability, like I remember watching him at Notre Dame. Kid can cover the entire field before the wide receiver gets to the 10 yards out. Like it is crazy. Put up top 5 grades in both defending run defense and rushing the passer, and a top 10 coverage grade at 76.8. He had an insanely good year, and you're right. All of the teams in the AFC North are certainly scared of Kyle Hamilton.
Dude, I can't get over the fact that he's fucking 6'4", 220 playing safety. He's top 10 graded in coverage, and he's top 5 in run defense and pass rush. Like incredible.
Yeah,
Absolutely incredible. And yeah, that's like we're getting into freak of nature territory. And it's only he's a rookie. He was the 14th pick. Unbelievable. But all right, the top 3. This guy flew under my radar with how big of a season he had, but I love talking about this guy. Number 3, I have the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. 64 tackles, 3 interceptions. He also had a sack, 8 passes defended. With his new team in New Orleans, he played a career high of snaps. He was 6th this season in snaps played. He had the best coverage grade among all safeties. 7.6 yard allowed per reception has him at 4th. He had a 65.9 passer rating when targeted, which has him at 6th. Tyrann Mathieu just, moving teams late in his career, you kind of think, oh, he's going to slow down. Not this dude. The Honey Badger is, here to stay. And I love this guy.
yeah, and that's why I also have him at number 3. Same reasons. Guy just a baller. He goes out. He played all game, every single game. It's his 10th season in the league. This guy is a veteran at this point, and like you said, he's putting up career numbers. He a position leading 87.9% coverage grade. Like that's not what we would really expect from Tyrann Mathieu. Sometimes, in prior years, he gets a little, jumpy and can kind of fuck himself over sometimes, but the athletic prowess that he has when he uses it correctly, like he did in 2022, he is easily one of the best safeties in the league.
Yeah, I hope he has a very, I hope he's around for a lot longer
Yeah,
because he's very
exciting.
entertaining.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear
So,
it.
yeah, Derwin James
Yep.
made my number 2. 64 tackles, 3.5 stuffs, 2 forced fumbles, 2 picks, 6 passes defended. Kind of echoing the same things that you said. Allowed lowest yards per reception, which was 7. Um, 71.3 man coverage grade, but still 13th. He's in the top 15 there. Had the second highest pass rush grade. He had 9 pressures, which puts him at 6th. He had 4 sacks on 31 pass rush attempts. And I love when we do these lists and I can highlight games or plays that these players made that just like absolutely blew my mind. That body slam on Travis Kelsey, who is 6'5, 250, was just egregious. Absolutely egregious.
Yeah, that play is crazy.
Yeah, that was an amazing play. Done by an amazing player. I love Derwin James. He is a strong fucking safety. It's the position name.
That's fair. All right. My number 2, I've got Cameron Curl of the Washington Commanders. This guy,
I like it.
like, was very, very good this past year and certainly got overlooked. That team in general had a lot of players that got overlooked. A 7th round pick in 2020 as a rookie replaced Landon Collins, and he just keeps getting better. A top 10 grade, run defender and in coverage. It's career highs in both of those when it comes to the PFF grade. And he's very flexible for the Commanders. He can do just about anything. He can play in the box. He can line up on tight ends. Posted a 4.7% missed tackle rate while kind of playing the second linebacker position, which is pretty common for a free safety. But Cameron Curl did it better than just about anybody else, other than our number 1 guy.
All right. I like that take. Cameron Curl was awesome. Absolutely fantastic.
All right,
Okay,
let's say it in
so
unison. It's very
hey,
obvious who it is.
yeah, go
3,
ahead.
2, 1. Minka
Minka
Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick,
It's
baby.
so
And
easy.
let me just start
I'm
with
just
this
gonna let
first
you
one.
cook. I have nothing to say that you're not gonna.
6 interceptions, tied for first, I think, with 4 other people, which is kind of interesting, but pretty cool, I think. That's actually the most in his career so far. 11 passes defended ties a career high for him. 2.5 stuffs, that's also the most in his career. Top 8 run defense and coverage, ranked second in forced incompletion rate. He had a blocked extra point, which was the first in his career. And let me just run through week 1 Minka Fitzpatrick versus the Bengals. This motherfucker shit on the Bengals, and that just makes me so happy. 14 total tackles, 1 pick six. That was where this is also the game where he blocked that extra point. And also that picture where Jamar Chase is flicking him off is the epitome of the AFC North. And Minka Fitzpatrick is by far the best safety in the league.
Yeah, there's nothing else to add. The guy is just absolutely goated, and like it just seems like he's in a class of his own when it comes to the free safety position.
Yeah, and I mean he can do anything. I mean, shit, a couple of years ago when the Steelers defense was, kind of shit, he was like like a fifth linebacker out there making tackles. He is phenomenal. But Grayson, I actually have some honorable mentions.
I do as well.
Okay, cool. I'm just gonna. Do you want to go back and forth, or do you want me to just
Yeah, we'll
throw a
go back
couple?
and forth.
Okay, my first one was Justin Simmons.
Yep.
Didn't really have any good grades to go off of for me, but he had 6 picks like Minka did, so I wanted to mention him.
Yeah, mine, Talanoa Hufanga. Guy came out of absolutely nowhere,
Oh
but
yeah.
a total beast. Plays a lot in the box, so kind of gets overlooked a little bit, but dude is just a baller. Like he looks so good out there on the field. Picked up 4 interceptions this season, 2 forced fumbles. He's a hard hitter, solid coverage, can run up and stop the run. He had 8 stuffs this year. Fantastic season on top of 2 sacks as well. Talanoa Hufanga was very good, and I can't wait to see what he can do in this 49ers defense next year.
Yeah, I mean, shit, when you train with Troy Polamalu, I mean, good things are bound to happen, I guess. Jalen Petrie, the rookie who plays for the Texans, I believe, didn't really have any good grades, but 107 solo tackles at the safety position and as a rookie. He was first among anybody that wasn't a linebacker. He also had 5 interceptions, which puts him at second, and 8 passes defended.
Yeah, that's solid. And my
Solid
last
season.
my last guy, shout out Harrison Smith, veteran man, 2012, picked in 2012. He's 34 years old, put up 5 interceptions this season.
Yeah, that's a dog. I love
Yeah.
Harrison Smith. I got 2 more for you.
All right, you can go ahead and hit him.
Marcus May allowed just 23.1% of his targets to go for a first down or touchdown. That was third best, and he was on a new team. He was kind of 50-50 with this team, but I just really kind of just wanted to read that stat. I think that's a cool stat. And then my last guy, Marcus Williams with the Ravens, 19.1 interception per coverage target rate. That was tied for fourth. So that was my last honorable mention.
Solid stuff. All right, I think we both made some pretty good lists.
That was a fun list.
All right, well, I guess we'll just have to do it again in a year.
Yeah, now, hey, we can start getting into like. Of course, I'm not gonna lie. This was fun to do. Now, I will say after a while, it kind of got boring, having to make top 10 lists. But
Yes.
after this, we finally get into like more of like the fun, kind of opinionated, I guess, stuff,
Yeah.
and kind of getting away from the stats. So I'm excited.
Well, look forward to it, people, because we've got it coming. And, with kind of everything ramping up here for the NFL offseason, we kind of hit we're kind of through the slow period. Now people are going to start some practicing, some off-season programs, things like that are starting up. Of course, the draft is coming up, but whole lot of stuff's going to be going on for the remainder of this offseason. We're still waiting on, what's happening with Lamar, what's happening with Rodgers, and, everything else that's going on. So plenty of NFL stuff to continue going. It seems like it just never sleeps.
Yeah. And hey, we still threw in some crime for you guys.
Yes, of course. We had to. It wouldn't be an episode of Second and Short without us trying to get onto the what's that? I guess it's the crime genre on the podcast.
Oh, there's one that everybody
True
watches.
crime. Yeah,
Yeah,
Serial.
true crime.
Yeah, Serial is like the really big true crime podcast.
Yep, I like it.
All right, let's talk Champions League. All of our soccer listeners love it. We'll start out Inter versus Benfica. Inter takes the dub 2-0. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Benfica didn't play better.
Watching the highlights I don't really think that the scoreline kind of reflects how good they played. They definitely played well enough to at least have one goal, but obviously they didn't. Inter though, Inter looked absolutely fantastic. Their first goal was a cross from Bastoni, their center back. And it was, I mean, like David Beckham esque, left footed, just whipped it into the box, and Barella gets the header to make it 1-0. Inter looked a lot better than they did against Porto, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think the best thing that we can see right now for Inter is how well this midfield is playing right now. You kind of throw. I feel like this plays a little bit more like a five at the back than three at the back. With Denzel Dumfries at, I feel like more of on the wing, as well, and then Federico DeMarco is more of like a left mid, but I feel like this plays much more like a five at the back, and it works very well with Dzeko and Martinez up top. They're guys that you can just feed the ball. It works well, especially with Barella and Mkhitaryan's playmaking ability. Brozovic plays a pretty solid, a little bit more of like holding midfield, but can play up into the middle. It lines up very well, but I don't see them going much farther with this team.
Yeah, I don't know. Inter, they've definitely had more favorable draws than the other teams that are left have. But like, I mean, the two Portuguese teams they have played have been very strong. And like you said, this five back just works so well for them. I think Demarco and Dumfries, echoing what you said, are more of your fullback guys, but in this formation, they're kind of allowed to attack more, and that's really worked out. Dumfries had a really good chance in this game that he 100% should have put away. And another thing that I wanted to add, which Inter actually did in this game, is you have Lautaro Martinez and Edin Dzeko up top with each other, but you have Lukaku coming in off the bench and scoring penalties. I mean, you're kind of loaded at striker there. So, but I agree with you. I don't know how far this Inter team can go, but I mean they look good.
Yeah. Yeah, I like what they're doing, but it does seem like when you watch them play, like they're a little bit of a mess, like on the field.
Yeah, in some ways. I can agree with that. And another thing that I wanted to highlight, that VAR that Lukaku scored off of, I am a soccer player, but I'm going to go ahead and admit I don't know the rules on this, but that penalty to me is ridiculously stupid. It was a cross that got played into the box, and it like came off one of the Benfica defenders like head and then hit their hand. And I was like so confused as to how that should be a penalty. Yeah, Lukaku capitalized off of it, and Benfica find themselves, 2-0 down going into the second game. I think was it in Portugal already? Where was this game played?
That game, yes, it was.
Yeah, yeah. So Inter already get the tough away win there. So yeah, Benfica are going to have to try to go to the San Siro now. Inter. Another thing we could talk about. Gonzalo Ramos held to pretty much a pretty low average game by Inter too, which can be expected when your defenders are Bastoni, Acerbi, and Darmian, who have all been amazing this year. And Onana is a freak. So Inter defended one of the most informed strikers in the world very well today or yesterday.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And then let's talk Manchester City versus Bayern. Manchester City wins 3-0, a
Oh,
very surprising result. And me and Luke kind of talked about this game before we recorded. I think a big part of this is how Manchester City are lining up.
yeah. A kind of an awkward formation for them, but it seems to have kind of like revitalized their form this season because it seems like only a couple months ago, Grayson, we were talking about, Manchester City, they had only beaten Leipzig like 1-0. And Leipzig actually looked really good against them. And in the Premier League, they were getting some draws and some losses, but Manchester City have kind of switched up their formation and they're back to, being one of the best teams, if not the best team in the world right now.
Yeah, they're definitely there. And like having John Stones playing holding midfield and getting an assist in this one, it's very interesting. It's a thing that we really haven't seen John Stones do too much before this season, and he's doing it fantastically. Like he's got decent speed, he can certainly pass, and he does stay on Manchester City's half of the field a lot, but he has the ability to move up into the other half, make plays from deep, and obviously got him an assist in this one.
Yeah, kind of plays like, and we were talking about it before we were recording. It's kind of like Sergio Busquets, where dare I say, it almost looks like he's playing lazy. Like it's a lot of standing around, but John Stone's positioning, I don't know where he learned how to play center mid, but it's very good, and his passing is very smart. He's not the type of guy, of course he did get an assist this game, but he's not the type of guy to like slice the entire Bayern defense with like a through ball. He's kind of one of those guys that you can drop it to and he'll keep possession and make a very good pass, a very good, smart pass to someone. He looks absolutely phenomenal at center defensive mid.
Yeah, like 3 passes into the final third from John Stones is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. But I wanted to highlight this because Rodri's goal, which made it 1-0, it was a worldie. I'm not trying to take anything away from Rodri. He's a fantastic midfielder. But the defending from Bayern was absolutely, it was so fucked. It was so stupid how they defended Rodri there. It was like Rodri kind of gets the ball and he's able to just sort of, walk and get close to the edge of the 18 before Musiala makes a half-ass attempt to get the ball from him. And Rodri just beats him with like a simple, with just a simple move. And then Goretzka takes his time stepping up to Rodri after Rodri shredded Musiala with poor defending and a simple move. And Goretzka, like I said, he takes his time. Rodri with his left foot just curls one in against Jan Sommer, and it was really easy for them. And from there, it just kind of seemed like Manchester City were in control the entire time.
Yeah, and I think just to go with, how Bayern didn't even score a goal, another thing that we talked about before we started is that I feel like Sane and Coman need to play further up the field, and I don't think the Serge Gnabry should be playing striker at all.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you there, and you can see that, that's kinda what Byron thought as well. Of course, they started Serge Gnabry at striker, but look who's getting subbed out, Serge Gnabry. But he actually did get to play the full 80 minutes. I get it, Serge Gnabry is one of your more talented players. I like Serge Gnabry, but with kinda like how we were talking about pre-recording, with Choupo-Moting out of this team, I feel like Mueller has to be the striker there, which you already kind of said there, and I'm pretty much just saying what you said pre-recording, but I completely agree with you. And Mueller did come on, and in the 10 minutes that he got playing time, he averaged a 6.6, which was better than Serge Gnabry.
Yeah, look, I just feel like if you let Sane and Coman play up higher up the field, you'll be fine. If they play more on the wing, it's okay because you have Pavard and Davies at fullback that can certainly cover that middle ground if they get caught up in attacking. But it just seems like the defending was poor from Upamecano and Delit, and it just I don't know. It didn't seem like the Bayern Munich that we've been watching prior.
Yeah, Upamecano was easily one of the key factors that contributed to Bayern's 3-0 defeat here. I started to feel bad for him. As a former defender myself, it's brutal to just to be completely rattled, which is what he looked like. He was holding on to the ball for too long, which is something you absolutely cannot do as a center back because a team like Manchester City, they have guys like Holland up there that are going to pressure you, they're going to body you, and they're going to win possession off of you and already be right there in front of Jan Sommer. So Upamecano, I hope he has a bounce back in the second leg, but it was super poor from him. Um, One play that I wanted to highlight, this was insane. Grealish in like the 33rd minute, it was a 50-50 ball, and he just hit stick Jan Sommer and knocked the ball out of his hands. And then Jan Sommer, while on the ground, has a save against a shot from Ike Gundogan. It was an insane play. And it was a corner afterwards. I mean, of course, if Gundogan scored, it would have definitely gotten reviewed and hopefully um, taken off. But Jack Grealish is lucky that he didn't come away with the yellow card there, especially, going at a goalie like that when they're in the box. When they're in the box, you're supposed to protect keepers. It was a sure yellow card, and like I said, yeah, Jack Grealish just got away with hit sticking Jan Sommer.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and he made a save afterwards too. He was like on the ground, stuck his leg out, and blocked the ball.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
How do you feel about this one for leg 2? Because obviously Man City has a huge lead going into leg 2, but Bayern has the home game at Allianz Arena. We could see it get pulled pretty close.
Yeah. I hate to break it to you, City fans, but your fans are plastic. They're not real. And nobody will be there in Munich for this game. At least the away fans won't travel. Um, Manchester City are a very good team. So are Bayern. And Munich, especially at the Allianz Arena, is not it's not a fun place to play. And if any team that lost in the first leg is set up to kind of, potentially make a comeback out of anybody, it's definitely Bayern Munich, even though they are down by the biggest margin. And I honestly, I think I could see it happen, Grayson. I really do.
Yeah, I think I could see it happening, but if if Bayern is set up like they were this week, I don't see them coming back.
Yeah, I don't either. Something is definitely going to have to change. But like I said, that you can't avoid playing in Munich though. That is for sure going to be the hardest part. And I think Bayern could come back. But I think for my second leg, I'm going to go conservative. I think it'll be 3-1 Bayern, but City will go through on aggregate 4-3.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go 2-1 Bayern. City goes on. City goes through.
I like it. We never did our Benfica and Inter.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. I feel like Inter probably holds on, but let's go. I'm gonna go 0-0.
Yeah, I'm going to go kind of something similar. I think since Benfica are having to go to Italy, and like I said, kind of like in Munich, the San Siro is not an easy place to go. And like I said, you're already down going into Italy, so I think Inter take it 1-0 through 3-0 on aggregate against Benfica.
All right. Let's talk about Real Madrid versus Chelsea. I'm sure that you have an entire manifesto
Uh,
here to present to us, but Real Madrid takes a win 2-0 over Chelsea. Goals coming from Karim Benzema in the 21st and Marco Asensio in the 74th. Luke, how do you feel about this? Just,
it's just
first impression.
it's just the same shit, different day, man. If I'm gonna fucking like not really pay attention in my economics class to watch you fucking guys, at least score. Give me something to cheer about. It's we've gone 4 consecutive games without a goal. Um, man, it doesn't reflect. I will still admit that. Maybe I'm a delusional Chelsea fan, but like the chances are there. They're so there. But Real Madrid are just, probably the best team in the Champions League. And they kind of proved it. Wesley Fofana, oh my god, he he had me just palm to the face in the middle of economics class because he got absolutely like just manhandled by Vinicius Jr. on Kareem Benzema's goal. It was like I forget who played the through ball, but Fofana and Vinicius Jr. are pretty much competing for this 50-50 ball. And Fofana ends up like with his back turned, like trying to keep his balance against Vinicius Jr. Horrible, horrible defending. Good to have Thiago Silva back. He had a good game, but still gave up 2 goals and didn't score. So I don't know. Chelsea are kind of you think that I have a manifesto, Grayson, for this game, but I really don't. It's just the same shit, different week. I have no idea what's wrong with this Chelsea team.
Yeah, my
I
biggest
truly
thing when I first looked at this match was I hate this lineup for Chelsea.
don't. Okay. What about
I
it?
I don't understand it really whatsoever. Conte should be in the center of the field, and I don't like having it kind of I guess it's a two striker setup when you think about it. Raheem Sterling is not a striker. Yao Felix is barely one. Like they're both guys that create chances a little bit better than they score goals. There is not a single person in that starting lineup where I'm like, yeah, they're like a goal scorer first.
Yeah. I like the Chelsea lineup actually. I do personally disagree with you on the Conte and Fernandez thing. I think Enzo actually needs to be in the center. He his passing ability was extremely and it even he had good stats coming into Chelsea, but like I underrated his passing extremely. He is very, very smart and intelligent, and I love him in the center of the field. He's very good at looking around and picking out guys. And I kind of understand Frank Lampard's philosophy there, but like you said, Raheem Sterling is not a striker. Zhao Felix is, I mean, he hasn't really scored for Chelsea. So I mean, is he even a striker? He looks good, but he hasn't scored at all. Um, I like Chilwell and Reece James out on the wing, kind of like with what Inter has done. Reece James and Chilwell are both very good attacking fullbacks, or at least can be. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't have much else to say about this game. I
Yeah.
kind of wish we had skipped it.
I will say, when I looked at Real Madrid's lineup, like it's pretty hard to like look at that and be like, yeah, we can do something. Because even like I really like the fact that Real Madrid's playing Camavinga at left back. I think that's super interesting because he's not even really like a defensive midfielder, which is typically the kind of guy that you'd see move to fullback. And he's essentially just like your textbook center mid, but he's playing left back very well.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Kimmich a lot, where he's
Yeah,
kind of your fullback or center mid. I love Camavinga. I absolutely love that player. Valverde looked really good against Chelsea. I mean, really everybody looks good against Chelsea.
yeah,
Benzema especially. I mean, just easily the best striker in the world, and Vinicius Jr. and Benzema is such an underrated duo. They work so well together, and it's envious to watch. Truly,
Yeah, they play very well, and um, I'm kind of interested. I don't understand why Rodrigo was starting over Marco Asensio on this one.
yeah. Because didn't Asensio come on and score?
Yeah, he did. He was only in for 19 minutes.
Yeah. Wow.
I feel like Marco Asensio plays. I can't say that he's like better than Rodrigo, but I feel like he adds more to this front three than Rodrigo does.
I agree. Yeah.
But also, how the fuck are Modric and Tony Cruz still this good?
Yeah, they literally just have only gotten better. It seems like.
Same with
That
Kareem Benzema.
yeah, Benzema's he's definitely gotten better. Definitely gotten better than what he was before. Um, I mean, maybe with Cruz and Modric, you can kind of see some age showing, but Benzema literally like he wasn't a Ballon d'Or, like candidate probably like even like 4 or 5 years ago. Now he's all over it. He
Yeah,
is fantastic.
yeah, it's crazy. Honestly, like how good Real Madrid has become since Ronaldo
Mhm.
left.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people kind of thought that Ronaldo held them back in a lot of ways, kind of being the whole focal point of a team that's all talented. It wasn't all just Ronaldo on that team. They had talent everywhere, and it kind of seems like maybe Ronaldo leaving has done a lot of good for Real Madrid overall.
I can believe it because it seems like every team has benefited from him leaving, other than Juventus.
Yeah, other than Juventus, but they also had that penalization thing that put them in like 10th and took them out of the Champions League and
Yeah,
all that shit. But yeah, this game was really, really disappointing. But Real Madrid just keep proving, that they're definitely the favorites to win the Champions League. I think maybe you could argue Manchester City because they just did beat Bayern 3-0. But let's go back to the leg before this. Real Madrid knocked out Liverpool 5-2. No, that wasn't the aggregate. That was the score of the first leg. I actually forgot what the aggregate of that was, but Real
uh,
Madrid just seemed to be able to just run over anybody.
yeah, they just look unbeatable, and it's crazy. I personally think Real Madrid holds on to it, even though they're coming to London. Um, maybe I'll give Chelsea a goal. I'll say 3-1 on aggregate for Real Madrid.
That game was. I thought that game was in London.
No, this one was at the Bernabeu.
Oh damn. Yeah, you're right. Um, Chelsea did have the comeback against Dortmund in London, but Real Madrid are not Dortmund. So I think Chelsea will take it 2-1. No, you know what? No. Real Madrid 1-0. Chelsea are done.
Yeah,
Why did I think Chelsea would score more than one goal, let alone one goal?
yeah. I'm giving them one. That's it.
I'm giving them nothing, and that's I'm a Chelsea fan. I understand that we will not score against Real Madrid.
All right, last one. Napoli and Milan, they face off. Milan takes it 1-0. So in the span of what, like a week or a week and a half, they beat Napoli twice. Um, this one was an interesting one because I feel like it was pretty close, but like Milan was up 1-0 for 60 minutes or 50 minutes. So I don't know. It seemed like Napoli was rather undisciplined. A lot of yellows in this one.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you're going to get. I mean, you're putting a Milan team that I have talked about this so many times on the podcast, but it's just really interesting that this Milan team, 20 years ago, they would probably be competing for the final, you know, and they kind of took a 10-year break and now they're back. So the hype around the Champions League, especially with Milan kind of not really doing so hot in the Serie A, I think they're like fourth or fifth. Um, Obviously all the focus for Milan is now on the Champions League, and you can even tell in the fans. The San Siro was absolutely bumping for this game, and you're putting them up against another Serie A team, one that's been flying in the league and is probably going to win it for the first time since the Maradona era. but also a team that's kind of lingered in the Champions League. You know, Napoli throughout my lifetime have had a lot of good Champions League campaigns. And you know, it's just the perfect mix for such a good um knockout round between these two teams. You know, they already don't like each other because they already have to see each other. You know, they're two Italian teams. So I understand where all the yellow cards come from here.
Yeah, for sure. But, you know, and a lot of them happening within like 8 minutes. Giovanni Di Lorenzo got a yellow in the 70th, as well as Andre Franco Anguissa. And then 4 minutes later, Anguissa follows it up with another yellow. He gets sent off. 4 minutes after that one, Min Jae Kim gets a yellow card. And then in the 90th, or in injury time, 90th plus three, Ramani also got a yellow. And they started off 38th minute. Zielinski got yellow. So that is just too much. I get, whatever. It's a physical rivalry. But you have to play more disciplined or you're just going to keep fucking yourself over. And that's what they did throughout this whole match. I think they're lucky that they only lost 1-0.
Yeah, that's a good point. Stefano Poli or Pioli, I guess, is Milan's manager. He also got himself a yellow card there, so
Yeah.
he did a good job getting involved in that one. It was a back and forth game, you know, from the beginning. Napoli started really strong, and looked like they were going to score within like the first 5 minutes, but Milan just barely held on. And then their goal came from a awesome counterattack where Ben Nasser, absolutely blew it past Moret there in goal, and that kind of, it stayed that way the rest of the game. But Grayson, we're gonna so the Georgian guy, number 77 on Napoli. I'm not even gonna try his last
I
name,
think I've
but
got it now.
well, I actually before we were recording, we can start calling him Cavaradonna. This is
Okay.
his new nickname, so I think I will refer to him as Cavaradonna from now
Sounds good.
on. What's how do you pronounce his name?
I think it's Kverchkila.
Kvaratskhelia
Or, yeah, it's Kverchkelia.
or Cavaradonna?
Yeah, I like that better.
But he's absolutely amazing. He had a pretty decent game here. Didn't really get a goal or contribute to much, but still played well. And the second leg, I feel like could go either way because this game was even 50-50.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about this one. I think Napoli ties it up 1-1 and they go to penalties.
You don't have a winner or
I can't
jumping shit out.
decide. I'll be honest.
It's tough.
I'm going to go Napoli
Man,
in
AC Milan are going to
pens.
have to go to Naples this time.
They're
I
going to be
think it'll
real
be a
scared when they hear the Champions League ringing throughout the town.
oh yeah, the entire city will be screaming. I'm gonna go, man. I'm betting on this Milan team. They're hungry. It's their first time in the knockout stage since like I don't know when it was, but like I love this AC Milan team. I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw in Naples.
All right.
Milan go through 2-1.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Prem. Not too many great matchups this weekend, but a couple of good ones. So we'll start off Chelsea, of course, and Brighton face off. This one, an interesting matchup. Brighton is significantly ahead of Chelsea in the table right now, and they've played two less games.
Oh man, more Chelsea talk, dude.
I'm sorry, but we have to talk about this one.
I don't. I love my Blues, but like it, it's hard to talk about them because I genuinely do not understand the issue.
Yeah, that's fair. But Brighton has looked very good this year. But Chelsea has the opportunity here to turn it around. Brighton's coming off of a 2-1 loss to Tottenham, and Chelsea is really down in the dumps right now. They're only 6 points ahead of Crystal Palace.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows? I mean, Frank Lampard just took over the team, so maybe there is some sort of period there where he needs to kind of get more acquainted. But it's just been so bad. And Brighton, yeah, their last loss was, or they're coming off of a loss against Tottenham. It was only 2-1. Um, Before that, though, they have been on an absolute tear. They haven't lost in a really long time. So I really, their last game being a loss to Tottenham, I don't think is really that big of a deal to them in this game. They're going to beat Chelsea,
Okay. Yeah,
in my opinion.
I'm kind of in the same boat. Unfortunately, I will say, like Brighton, you can't overlook them, and you're right by saying that I think Brighton will win. They're number one in shots on target per match in the Prem with
Oh,
6.
wow.
They average 1.9 goals per match. That's third in the Prem, and doesn't help that Chelsea haven't won in their last 5, haven't scored in their last 4, and they're ranked 13th in goals scored per match at 1.
Yeah, not ideal for, winning soccer games,
Yeah,
but
that's a good point.
yeah, this they're gonna hold Chelsea to. I don't think Chelsea are gonna score against Brighton. And with what you just said, with the whole shots on target, I think it'll be a 2-0, maybe a 2-1, maybe a 1-0, but Brighton win in every scenario.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. I'm gonna go 2-0 for Brighton.
Yeah, it's a safe bet there.
All right, and then Aston Villa versus Newcastle. This one actually a pretty solid matchup. Newcastle obviously sitting at third in the table right now. They're even on points with Man U, but they've won their last 5. They face a Villa team that is certainly fighting for something. They're only 6 points out of fifth for that Europa League spot. They've won their last 4. Not really the most impressive teams to beat in that 4. Bournemouth, Chelsea, unfortunately, Leicester, and also a win over Nottingham Forest. This is kind of their first really good team they're facing in a few weeks now, and I think Newcastle might just outshine them.
I don't know, man. You did make the good point of Villa. They haven't really played anybody, but hey, they've still been good and they've still been consistent. 4 wins and a tie, but 3 clean sheets among those 5 games. So super impressive there. But you're right in saying that Newcastle, they've won their last 5. They look absolutely amazing. But Villa, they've had a lot of good production from all across the team. You got guys like Ollie Watkins in there that's getting goals and assists. Emiliano Martinez, who is starting to catch a lot of flack because they're like, the only reason he has all this attention is because of the World Cup. No, he literally is like super solid for Aston Villa. He may not be as good or as superstar esque as he was during the World Cup, but he's playing with Messi in the World Cup. In the Premier League, he's playing with Aston Villa. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League, match rating wise, for sure. Other guys like Ashley Young from my childhood. It is so good to see him still playing well. And also Tyrone Mings have been very good for Aston Villa. So Aston Villa, Newcastle are going to have to really, really, really play well, I think, if they're going to beat Aston Villa. Because, I mean, Aston Villa are in a pretty damn good form.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing comes down to here is the defense. Newcastle's only allowed 21 goals this season. Aston Villa at a +1 goal differential. They've only scored 41. They've given up 40. That's kind of where I see the discrepancies here in this matchup. Like, yes, Villa has been very good. They haven't lost in 7. And I don't know. I feel like Newcastle, when it comes to the defensive play, are going to best Aston Villa that way.
Yeah, no, Newcastle's defense is not something to be fucked around with. But I think, with how these teams are matching up and with Villa's form, they did have 3 clean sheets in their last 5. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw between these two teams.
All right, I'm going to take Newcastle 1-0.
I like it.
All right, our last matchup we'll talk about Leeds versus Liverpool. This one is interestingly enough an important matchup.
Yeah, it is, especially, in regards to the table for sure.
Yeah, so Liverpool right now, they sit in 8th, but only 1 point ahead of Brentford in ninth. Liverpool on absolutely atrocious form, in my opinion. A loss to Bournemouth, a horrible loss to Man City, and then they draw Chelsea 0-0. An impressive draw against Arsenal 2-2. But Leeds, man, it's weird because they play some of the bottom of the table teams really well, and then they also will lose to Crystal Palace 5-1. There's really no telling. But this would be the time for Leeds to get a win. They're only 2 points out of the relegation zone. If Nottingham Forest it's not looking like Nottingham Forest is going to pick up any points against Man U. But if Nottingham Forest picks up points, Leeds is going to drop. If Everton picks up points, Leeds is going to drop. And it's just a position they can't be in. They've put a lot into this team, and if they keep dropping and they get relegated, they're going to lose everything.
Yeah, Leeds have kind of built an awkwardly kind of decent lineup. I think in regards to this week, Liverpool are just simply too good. Leeds have been, kind of getting battered recently. Let me try to find their last 10. Yeah, here we go. So, in what world does Crystal Palace beat anybody 5-1? In what world does Crystal Palace score 5 goals?
Or just
I mean,
win.
seriously, or just win. Um, you get the win over Nottingham Forest, but they've been hot garbage as well. Arsenal puts up 4 against you. I mean, it's been tough. I mean, their last good win was probably the one against Wolverhampton. It was a 4-2, but Wolves had the red card as well. So, with the draws that Liverpool have had, that 2-2 draw against Arsenal is super impressive for an 8th place Liverpool team. I think Liverpool are definitely the favorites to win this game.
Oh yeah, certainly are. But with the form that Liverpool's on, I'm not going to be all that surprised if they don't play well.
Yeah, I think it could be a closer game than what people think, but I think Liverpool are still going to take it.
I'm going to say it's going to be 1-1.
One draw. I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool.
All right. Well, that rounds that out for the Premier League. Luke, you ready to get into Do You Remember?
Let's do it. I'll let you do it first since
All
I
right.
started the top 10.
Got it. All right, Luke. Do you remember the MLB end of season awards in 1999? I already know your answer. It's no.
Yeah, because
You
we
don't.
weren't
You don't.
born for most of these.
Yeah, which is fair. I wasn't either. So I'll start with the AL MVP race. Pudge Rodriguez won AL MVP. He did not lead the league in any statistical category. Okay?
Who was it? Pedro Martinez? Is that who you
No,
said?
Pudge Rodriguez or Ivan
Oh,
Rodriguez.
okay.
Second in MVP voting, Pedro Martinez with a
Wow.
9.8 WAR that led the MLB. Led the MLB in wins with 23, only lost 4. Led the league in ERA with a 2.07. Led the league in WHIP with a .923. 29 starts, 213 innings pitched, only gave up 9 homers, and led the American League in strikeouts with 313. How the fuck did Pedro Martinez not win MVP?
I think the most impressive stat there is only 9 homers given up from a starting pitcher.
Yeah.
That's insane. That is incredible.
Yeah, and
Wow.
even if you're saying that it shouldn't have been Pedro Martinez, Manny Ramirez arguably had a much better season than Pudge Rodriguez that year, as well as Roberto Alomar, and they were both tied at 3 when it came to the voting results. It was a much closer race than the one in the National League, which was arguably worse. And of course, I'm glad Chipper Jones won the MVP in 1999, but it's absolutely insane that he had 29 first place votes out of 32 of them, because Pudge Rodriguez won the AL MVP with 7 first place votes. Chipper Jones won with
Wow.
29, and Chipper Jones, just like Pudge, didn't lead the MLB or the National League in any of the batting stats. And Jeff Bagwell, behind him, played every single game that year. He led the MLB in runs, led the MLB in walks, which is kind of crazy, and had significantly more RBIs, more stolen bases, just lower batting average. But the guy that I really want to point out here is Larry Walker, because Larry Walker was 10th in MVP voting. He led the MLB in the entire slash line. He had the highest batting average at 379. He had the highest on-base percentage at 458. He had the highest slugging at 710 and an OPS of 1.168 that also led the MLB. He didn't win it. Mark McGwire was 5th behind Greg Vaughn of the Cincinnati Reds, Mark McGwire had 65 home runs and 147 RBIs, both of those leading the National League, the home runs leading the MLB. That's
Wow,
fucking crazy.
that's insane. And you said who was the second guy behind Chipper Jones?
Um, Larry Walker of the Rockies.
And he played every single game.
No, he did not. Sorry, Jeff Bagwell was who I was talking about. He played every single game.
I feel like that has to be so rare for baseball players to do.
Yeah, only like a solid handful of guys a year will play every single game. I think Matt Olson did it last year.
Dang, that's impressive.
Yeah. But another interesting one, uh, the Gold Glove, because Rafael Palmeiro won the Gold Glove at first base and only played 28 games at first base in that season.
Okay, interesting.
So I don't know what the voters were doing all year, but it was certainly interesting.
That sounds like not watching baseball.
Yeah, that certainly appears to be the problem. I don't know what was happening that year. It's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. That was a good one. I enjoyed that. That was entertaining.
All
Um,
right, look what you got.
Grayson, do you remember? Actually, I'm gonna start this one off with a question. I'm gonna see if you can guess who
Okay.
this is. So, TJ Watt was Defensive Player of the Year in what 21?
Yeah, I believe so.
Do you know who the last Steeler to be a Defensive Player of the Year was?
Hmm. Let's see. Did Palomalu win one?
You're actually correct. It was
Okay.
Polamalu. Do you know when?
Oh man. I'm gonna say sometime in the mid 2000s.
Actually, it was 2010.
Damn, I was close.
So mine, do you remember Troy Polamalu's Defensive Player of the Year season in 2010?
I don't,
If not,
obviously.
yeah, let me just tell you about this guy. So, as far as the team goes, they were AFC champions. Obviously, we're not going to talk about what happened in the Super Bowl.
Nah, we don't need to.
Defense was first in points allowed. And now I'm going to get into Troy's stats. So 42 solo tackles, kind of iffy there. That's not really a lot of tackles, but this is when shit gets insane. 11 pass deflections, 7 interceptions, 1 sack, 1 touchdown. He only played 14 games. He beat Clay Matthews out for Defensive Player of the Year, which I thought was interesting to throw in there. And then,
Love them.
kind of like how I did with Minka, this is the reason I did this, is because we were, all this safety talk had me thinking about the dude with the hair. I love Troy Polamalu. So, and it's kind of cool the parallel because I highlighted Minka's week 1 last season against the Bengals. Well, now I'm going to highlight Troy's week 14 in 2010 versus the Bengals. 2 deflected passes. He had a 45-yard pick six off of Carson Palmer from a pass that was intended for Terrell Owens. Kind of interesting there. On that play, Troy Polamalu, he like dives into the end zone. He's got the arm stretched out. He hits the pylon. It's an awesome interception. But on that play, he actually hurt his ankle. He remained in the game and got another interception.
Wow.
Yep. So that was TP in 2010. He was
Yeah,
amazing.
that's fucking crazy.
Yep. And then Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl made him not look like Defensive Player of the Year.
Certainly did not.
There you go.
Wow. That was a great one. Yeah, I totally forgot that he won it in 2010.
Yeah, 7 picks in 14 games too. I think that's the most impressive one to me.
Yeah, that is very impressive.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, Luke. I think that's going to do it for us.
Yeah, this was a fun episode. I
Yeah.
enjoyed this. It went really long and it didn't even feel long.
No, that we
Fun.
skated through that one. Fantastic stuff going on. Other than the fact that I just got the news, Orlando Arcia is on the IL with the micro fracture in his wrist. So it looks like Vaughn Grissom's coming back up. But that's fine. You know what? I don't care. It's not going to hurt my feelings.
Oh man, that does suck though. I've
Yeah,
been
it does.
really enjoying Orlando Arcia, but hey, at least Grissom gets to come back. I'm be
Yeah.
interested to see how he can do this year because he was good last year for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. He's looked good in AAA, so I'm not that mad. But I think this is a good time for us to sign off. Luke, anything you've got for the people?
Yeah, actually, I was watching the Masters a lot with my family in Easter, yeah, like during our Easter kind of weekend there.
Yeah.
And Phil Mickelson, shout out Phil Mickelson. That was of course I personally don't want to see any live players win. You know, I mean they're just selling out basically. It's a lot of damn money that I personally wouldn't turn down, but they're sellouts. So I can be mad there. But Phil Mickelson, he showed out, and he's one of those golfers from my childhood, and it was cool to see him finish second among all those young guys.
Yeah, at 52 years old. It's crazy.
Yep. And then sad that Tiger had to pull out, but yeah, I think what was it? He like re-aggravated like his plantar fasciitis or something like that.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's the bullshit excuse he came up with for not wanting to play like 27 holes in a day, and he had just hit 2 double bogeys.
yeah, I need to put him in some Brooks or something.
I guess, yeah. He needs some insoles.
Something. Yeah, that's really all I got. Is I just wanted to shout out Phil Mickelson. It was cool to see him play well.
Alrighty. Well, we will see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.